Okay, I think it's good to start. I see there are 24 people that will be attending the event. Welcome to all of you. And this event is a general and introductory training event. It's a webinar, and it's about Horizon Europe's widening participation and spreading excellence call, and in particular, it is about the ERA chairs. We have about a 4-hour program, and there will be a welcome speech by a TÜBİTAK representative, and then we have sessions that are about the overall context of the widening participation and strengthening the European research area calls. Then there is a more focused call in the specific ERA chairs topic. And then we have 2 more experiential and hands-on sessions, which are about experiences from previous success stories in Turkey. And we have also experiences from another country. And in our case, it is a case from Poland, which is a use case that we will consider. At the end, we will have the opportunity to have something like a roundtable discussion. And of course, anytime you can post your questions, and which will be interactively answered by the panelists. It's a pity that we cannot have any live discussion, but from our experience, it also works with these interactive sessions with you posting questions and us answering them. And at some point, we have also Slido, which you will use to interactively give us feedback about your experiences. So now I would like to introduce our representative from TÜBİTAK. It is Dr. Derya Dönertas. Dr. Dönertas was born and grew up in Ankara. After completing her studies in the Middle East Technical University and Bilkent University, she moved to Vienna, Austria for her PhD. She has worked on a project funded by the European Research Council. The project was about small RNAs in the fruit fly gonads, and this was for 5 years at the Institute of Molecular Biotechnology. And then she decided to change her career path afterwards and started working at TÜBİTAK as national contact point for the European Research Council grants, starting from 2016. And since 2020, she's also working as the national contact point for spreading excellence and widening participation, helping Turkish stakeholders with their Horizon Europe applications. Dr. Dönertas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Turkey Horizon 2020 team for this great opportunity for this event and for all their work. And then I would like to give you a warm welcome from TÜBİTAK in these cold days. And thank you for taking your time to participate in this event. I'm Derya Dönertas. It was very interesting to hear myself from someone else. But I am the NCP for Widening Participation and Strengthening the European Research European Research Area, and also European Research Council. Today, we will be talking about ERA chairs, which is in the Widening Participation and Strengthening Excellence, part of the WIDERA, we call WIDERA area. And this is about, in the destination 2, attracting and mobilizing the best talents. So the idea is that you can bring an outstanding researcher or an innovator to your institution and bring excellence and make an excellent research group under this excellent researcher. And you are expected to increase their RNA capacity, perform institutional changes in 5 years with a budget of 1.5 to 2.5 euros. So this is an excellent opportunity for our researchers because you don't have to find any partners and you can apply in any research domain. And as NCPs, we would like to help you throughout your process. And we hope that you contact us about ERA chairs and also all the other calls in this work program. So we will now We will now learn more about the call from our experts, and I don't want to take more time from you. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I would like to give the floor. And thank you all for your time again.
Thank you very much. The floor now goes to Odysseas Spiroglou, some biographical information about Odysseas. Odysseas is the key expert in the Turkey Horizon 2020 project, and with a focus on legal, financial, and IPR issues. He has, as I see in the information he sent me, about 20 plus years of experience, but I think that this is something that it's not fair, because he has rather 25 years of experience, but because he looks younger, he takes advantage of this in the area of innovation consultancy with engineering, ICT, and financial background. And he has worked in numerous EU-funded projects, preparing proposals, building consortia, managing projects under FP7, CIP, Interreg, MED, H2020, and now Horizon Europe. And his specialization is in project management and quality management and intellectual property and re-engineering of business processes. And the floor is yours, Odysseas.
Thank you, Diamandis, for your nice words and the fact that I look younger. I hope I do, although this is not the case anymore. So let me start my presentation. I'm going to share my screen with you. I have a very introductory presentation on the eligibility aspects and the general terms of widening. Okay, so now I hope that you see the full screen of my presentation. Okay, I suppose you all do it. So I skipped the part about me because you presented me quite nicely. So what is widening Europe? What is widening participation and spreading excellence? Now, this program was one of the programs that existed also in Horizon 2020. There is a big difference between the past program and this one, because now there are more widening countries that can participate. So in this first presentation, I'm going to try to cover the whole project, the whole program, and the structure of widening along with the destinations, and some eligibility, the eligible activities, the types of action, how it is evaluated, and of course, what is really important in this program. I'd like to remind you the structure of Horizon Europe, how Horizon Europe is organized. You may remember that we have three pillars. The first one is about science, the second one is about challenges, and the third one is about innovation mainly. But we also have a horizontal, let's say, base that runs across all three pillars. And this is widening participation and strengthening the European research area. This is a non-sector specific, so it's sector agnostic. It doesn't deal with specific domains. It's focused on innovation and research and helping research become better. Why is that? Because the European Commission realized that there was a lag behind the research and innovation performance in certain countries, not just associated countries, but also some European countries. So the key objectives of this program is to boost research and innovation performance throughout the Union and abroad. And when we say usually the Union, we also mean the associated countries that participate also in this program. And there's a number of actions, the support of centers of excellence, the establishment of vibrant ecosystems, old and new, the enhance of the capacity to access research network, so networking basically, attracting talents, so brain gain versus brain drain, and of course improving the skills of researchers. And the way that we want to do that is through institutional reforms, through the transformation of research and innovation, through mobilizing national investments, through partnerships with outstanding new institutions, and of course, through the creation of new innovation ecosystems and upscaling existing ones. And we shouldn't forget, of course, brain gain. So attracting back to our country scientists that have left. Now, you will recognize in some of these aspects programs like teaming, twinning, of course, the previous ERA Chairs program. And in the previous Horizon 2020 program, the widening countries were usually countries that were the associated countries. Now we have a larger group of widening countries, so that widening countries, it's a definition given by European Union, and this is all or any country that lags behind in research and innovation. And we would like this country to increase the performance in the research and innovation ecosystem. So you will see in the map that we have a lot of member states. And now we have almost all member states in the East and Southeast. And what is very important, this goes probably for the rest of the calls, coordinators can only be from widening countries. Of course, in NRHS, this does not apply because we have anyway the applicant from a widening country. We also have the outermost regions of Europe and the associated countries. You can see Turkey in it. Of course, there are other widening countries also, like the Balkans, Tunisia, Morocco, Armenia, Bosnia, and so forth. Now, the widening program has two main components. So it's the widening participation and spreading excellence with the projects like the teaming, twinning, ERA Chairs, for which we talk today, COST, which is not a full part of, let's say, Horizon calls, but it is a different instrument. It's a very interesting one, and you should pursue it because it will help you mature your ideas. I'm sure that Diamandis has a lot more to say on that. We discussed it recently. Support to NCPs, brain circulation through these initiatives, and of course, excellence initiatives like the Excellence Hubs and the European Excellence Initiative for Universities, and the Hopon Facility, which is a new one. I want to draw your attention to the one for Excellence Hubs, which is also open and will close on March 15th, and the Hopon, which is also for a few months later. And I think you should have a look at these calls and try to see if there are opportunities for you. The second part of the program, you can see that the budget here it's smaller, and it is usually these actions are more supportive actions. So you can see activities like supporting of the scientific evidence, foresight studies, support to the ERA development, or to policy reforms, ethics, integrity, gender equality. So here we have a few proposals that target these issues, but we also have some tenders, and we have some budget that goes to specific initiatives. Now, within these two parts, we have three destinations. So all calls are divided into one of these three destinations. Destination one, we have the improved access to excellence. So teaming, twinning, the Excellence Hubs, the European Excellence Initiative for Higher Education Institution. This call has closed for now, or it's about to close, if I remember correctly, but it will open again. So you should keep an eye on these calls. These are very different calls, and I believe they're widening in general, it's an excellent opportunity for Turkish stakeholders. Then we have an R&I policy making in Western Balkans, focusing in that area. Mainly, there are some targeted initiatives there. The Hopon Facility, for which I have a slide later on, and other actions like cost action. In Destination 2, we have the ERA chairs, for which we have organized this webinar, and we have some future calls like the ERA fellowships and the ERA funds. And finally, we have Destination 3, which is again the activities that are more supporting and building the capacity of the rest of the program. Now, these are more or less the calls that have either just closed or are open. So you can see teaming, twinning for Western Balkans. It's just another twinning, nothing different. The twinning that's available for everyone, these are closed, but they will open again. So if you believe that you missed the deadline, don't worry. There will be future calls for this. The Excellence Hubs, which is a new call, new to Horizon Europe, and there is a deadline for 15th of March. The European Excellence Initiative, which is a call to strengthen the capacity for excellence in higher education institutions, targeting only academia. Again, this will open again. Support for the Western Balkans, okay, you're not, this is not applicable to you. The Hopon Facility, which is currently open in with two deadlines. So one deadline in April and one deadline in November. Take a look at that. I have a slide to explain more on the Hopon Facility later, because I believe it's an excellent opportunity for Turkish partners. ERA chairs, for which we have this presentation, and ERA fellowships coming up. Now, I promised to talk a little bit more about the Hopon Facility. I insist on that because I believe it's a very good opportunity for Turkish partners. Well, for every partner from associated country, but we are talking about Turkey here. So what does this do? This is basically a budget if you want to jump in an existing consortium. So any consortium, if they like it, of course, if they all agree, they can add a partner from a widening country to any selected Pillar 2 or EAC Pathfinder project. And why does European Commission does that? Because they want to increase the participation of low-performing countries in Horizon Pillar 2 actions. So there is a budget earmarked for you, and the budget can be anything between 200K to 500K euros per project. This is on top of the budget already approved for the consortium. So you find the consortium, you suggest them specific actions, specific tasks that will top up the rest of the project, and you submit a proposal along with the coordinator. Basically, it is it's a proposal based, of course, on the project that it's already approved and being implemented, and you add further tasks or a new work package. And if the consortium agrees with that, then you can submit it, and you can be a new member of this consortium. It is open to all topics under Pillar 2, as I said, and activities and projects and applications that contribute specifically to green and digital economy are encouraged. So digital transformation, green transition, existing consortium, find one and try to use the Hopon Facility. Again, it's an excellent opportunity for Turkish participants. Now, a few words on the eligibility and the conditions to apply. We have, of course, the consortium composition. Now, this goes mainly to this is more generic, so that Diamantis later on will have much more detailed presentation on what you actually need to fulfill. The consortium composition obviously does not apply to you, but in collaborative projects, we need at least one independent legal entity from member states, two other independent legal entities from different states. What does apply to you? It's the gender equality plan. So as an institution, you need to have a gender equality plan. Your institution needs to have one. This is a prerequisite to participate in any proposal from now on. And there are some new features that are applicable to all calls, to all proposals. There are some new fields in Part A. There's a researchers table, the role of participating organization. Again, this applies to all calls, but of course, ERA-CHAIRS is a unique call, so there are some unique features in that call. There is a self-declaration of gender equality plan. There are some fields moved from Part B to Part A, like the ethics self-assessment and the security questionnaire. And in Part B, we have some novelties like the glossary of terms, the consistency in the use of terminology. So be careful with the terminology that you are using. Make sure that you use the approved terms, and some extensive explanations in the proposal section. Evaluation criteria are more or less similar to Horizon 2020. So we have excellence, impact, quality of implementation. We have some issues that are cross-cutting, and every application, regardless of the program, needs to take into account, like open science, like the new key impact pathways, and especially the assessment of the quality of excellence and impact. Now, we have some very detailed presentations on these impact key impacts and pathways. In our info days, we have a presentation on these novelties for Horizon Europe. I think it's worth, if you're not familiar with this, take a look at this and see if they apply to you. The evaluation process remains the same. We have experts that are evaluating the proposals individually. We have then a consensus group, panel review, and finally the final rank of the proposals. And something which is also relevant to all topics, we now have 8 horizontal topics. So 8 topics which are cross-cutting within our own course. In ERA-CHAIRS, because it's a kind of a unique call, maybe not all apply to you, but you should keep always in mind that these are things that are good to have. And if you can prove that you are addressing them in any way, then this is something that will be very positive for your evaluation. So the main cross-cutting issues that are there and we need to address are the social science and humanities. There's an integration now of social science and humanities in all clusters and all components of research and innovation. And in some proposals, we have specific topics that are flagged. And in all cases, we need an assessment of your societal impact. So whenever you suggest a new project idea, make sure that you take a better look, a deeper look in the societal impact of this proposal. Dissemination and exploitation, of course, where it applies. We have new tools for that. We have the research, the results platform, we have the IP booster, the synergies, we have a better way to find results, but also we should design our projects in order to have a sustainability beyond the end of the project. So how are you going to make sure that whatever you're developing through the project will have sustainability, operational sustainability? The key enabling technologies is just a classification of these technologies. If you Google it, you will find maybe others from other sources, but Europe has these key enabling technologies that considers as technologies that are vital for every research. Not all of them, of course, will be used in all components. These are again something that can go horizontally. So you can use these technologies to every single proposal that you are preparing, and if you do fall in one of these proposals, make sure that you promote that and you stress this fact. Finally, we have social innovations, and these are advances in science and technology that can be used creatively to address societal problems. So how do we combine these new technology capabilities with organizational, with social practices? How can we address problems that already exist in our society? Now, that was a very generic presentation. I repeat, not everything applies, of course, to the proposal of ERA chairs, because this is a kind of a more personal proposal. But you should keep in mind all these issues when you are writing your application, because every little piece of this counts, and it is important that you can prove the synergies between your proposal and other proposals. Synergies is something that is very important for the general approach of widening participation and spreading excellence, because these projects, these initiatives are supposed to work with others. So if you have a teaming project, for example, maybe you can also bring it up and say that we are combining the teaming projects with these ERA chairs, or we will focus in our ERA chairs and try to pursue other opportunities in widening or in other pillars. So that's all from me at this point. I'm happy to address any questions that maybe we have. Okay, I can't see. Do we have any questions, Kemal, on this?
On Slido, seems we have no question right now. Odysseus?
There is a question now about whether you could provide more information on the Concordia.
I mean, I think it means consortia.
Consortia, yeah.
Okay. I guess this applies more to collaborative calls and not to ERA chairs. Am I right, Diamandis?
Actually, it is okay. I think I can cover this in my presentation, because at some point you have to make a match between the candidate and the hosting institution, which is, and also given the minimum requirements for a consortium, there can be also some other entities that can participate in this CSA type of project, which means that there is always the case that one may seek to involve the original institution where the candidate is coming from, also as a partner, and then there is place also for some additional facilitators in the process. And there is another question. Does this have to be a funded project by you? Yes, this is actually the context here. And yes, again, can universities participate? Mainly, it would be universities that are expected or research institutions to participate. Will there be another ERA chairs with deadline next year? This is something that there is not yet disclosed. So it is something that may be communicated after the close of this deadline, which is in, yeah.
A comment here. I suppose that there will be. Remember that the way Horizon Europe works is that we have a strategic plan, which is for the first 4 years. Now, Horizon Europe lasts 7 years, right? So we have now a strategic plan for the first 4 years, which identifies all these strategic objectives and the key impacts and the areas that the Commission would like to invest in. And then every 2 years, we have a work program. So the work program for widening was for 21-22. We know every call that is going to be published for 21-22. Now, for 23-24, there will be a new work program. Expect that sometime in the spring of 22, hopefully. Maybe later, but I hope that by the end of the summer, we will definitely have the work program, okay? Now, in the new work program, 23-24, I suppose that most of the calls will be repeated, or there will be new calls, but these new calls will have to follow the same objectives and the same goals. So even if there isn't an ERA chair call per se, there will be something else that most probably will be very similar to that.
Odysseus, my feeling there is, okay, it's a blind guess. This is the problem with webinars, that we cannot have these live interaction. But how I would read this question there about whether there will be another ERA chair next year is that, given the short deadline now, which is 15th of March, people might feel there that it might be all worth to come up with a proposal now for this call that is pretty soon. But if there is some reassurance that there will be another call by 2023, they might feel more comfortable, because they would know that, okay, we tried by March 22, we failed, but there will be an opportunity to resubmit and be better prepared. While if it is something that will change the conditions, there is no guarantee, so to say, about this. And do we have to join? Yeah, please.
No, there are never guarantees, but nothing that you can do to prepare for a call goes in vain. So I'm sure that whatever work that you will do for this project, you will most certainly be able to repurpose it for a future relevant call.
Yeah. And whether, a last question is, do we have to join to an existing consortium that is already funded by an EU project?
Actually, I think that goes for the Hopon facility, not for the ERA chairs.
Perhaps, yeah.
So it's a different call. Yeah, it's a different call. Yeah. In Hopon facility, you can join an existing consortium. You find a consortium under Pillar 2 or EIC Pathfinder. You talk to the coordinator. You make your case. You pitch your suggestion, your proposal. And if the consortium agrees, then you can apply to the Hopon facility and be part of that consortium. I don't think that this applies to ERA chairs.
Yeah. So if there are no other open questions, I will proceed. Thank you very much, Odysseus. And I will proceed now with my presentation. I will share my screen and off we go. Kemal, in case there are any questions, you can inform me by interrupting me, because what I'm seeing now, it's only my screen. So you are there, but I am somehow able to ignore you. So please come up with any questions. we have some Slido questions that we would like to play, but I would prefer that we will deal with them after my presentation, because this would be also a little more fair, because now you may still be lacking some information, some basic information. So it's about this ERA chairs call, which has a deadline by March 15.
Diamante, sorry for bothering you. It's Kemal. Have you clicked full screen button? We
Yes.
see your screen.
Yes.
We are not seeing your screen as full screen, but
okay, then we will not have any reason to worry. We can now open the Slido questions, and I will prepare so that we will not face the problem at all. Okay, so please.
Okay, now I'm opening the Slido questions.
Yeah, exactly. And let's go to the first question. Which is, what do you think might be an expectation that a potential ERA chair candidate may have from the acquisition of an ERA chair in Turkey? It might be same as for all other EU countries: acquire easier access to resources, higher remuneration levels, or other personal reasons, family reasons, or any other reasons that might attract a candidate from other countries. Okay. You can also vote for more than one answers. I don't know if it is allowed technically, Kemal, but and also feel very comfortable. So there is nothing there that is right or wrong here. So here it's something to collect the collective sentiment. What are the most important assets for a successful involvement in the ERA chair call, according to your gut feeling? So it might be specialized knowledge and know-how about the process of the call, a good network of connections, or a good period for intra-institutional preparation. I can explain this last one. What I mean there is that it's not simply about a matchmaking that one institution may hire someone. It is about a commitment also from the side of the institution that they will keep up this new ERA chair also for the future, and let it provide all the means for it to grow. And the last question is about how is your knowledge level about the ERA chair calls? I don't know much, and I'm here to learn. It's very fair, so no one is expert. Actually, even the experts, they may only pretend that they are experts. And at some point, we need to be to cope better with uncertainty than with certainty. Needs huge investment of time that I may not have, which is also true. Somehow familiar, but find difficult to get an understanding, which is also fair. Yeah. And so I'm happy with this collective sentiment we got from the Slido questions. Feel comfortable also to refine them, or to so all of you to go and reply to these Slido questions also during the presentation today at any time. So now I will reshare my screen, and hopefully this time it will work. And here we are. Few introductory things about the call. First of all, it is important to read the call. Don't take it for granted that people necessarily read the call. They may scan the calls diagonally. They may focus on some paragraphs, but they will not take care to read the call. And after reading the call, which is important, it's necessary to understand the call. And then there is still a step which is about to interpret the call and translate the call, every sentence there, into a hopefully successful proposal. Again, this is not so trivial. And the interpretation is not necessarily a process that can take place in a solitary way. So in many cases, we need to talk with other people who have also read the call and understood the call. And it's not a matter about organizing a meeting. It might be a continuous process which may need to take place over time. And I'm fully aware that these calls are competitive, but I would suggest that it's better if you share information and discuss with other competing proposals, because they are also extremely caring to improve their knowledge levels and how to translate this knowledge into a good story in the proposal. So sometimes we may get more help by our competitors than from within our own organization. So if I would ask, for instance, people in my research group to help me about a call, they might do it, but they will not do it as passionately as if I would communicate and network with some other competitors. So I would suggest, if you don't feel necessarily comfortable to interact or to share information with other competitors within Turkey, you could do this with competitors that might be in other countries. So this type of networking, so that you improve your understanding and the interpretation of the call and how this interpretation has to be translated into the proposal, it's important. And this is, all these three steps, they may seem obvious, but they are not trivial at all. And there is high chance that someone may get lost in translation. So I would like you to reflect on this story and tell me if it looks familiar. I don't know whether, Kemal, people can raise hands or make a comment in the chat box, but the story is like this. It's imagine that we have two proposal writers for the ERA chairs, and they are involved in a dispute, and they ask a key expert to settle it for them. And when the first proposer tells his opinion, the key expert tells, "You are right." And then the second proposer, not the second key expert, the second proposer protests. And when he tells his version, the key expert says also, "You are right." And then a third proposal writer who is listening intervenes and says, "Dear key expert, they cannot both be right." And the key expert probably replies, "You are also right." So this is an adaptation actually of Nasreddin Hoxha's story that my grandmother was telling me also when I was a young child. And I think that one could draw analogies between the way that we sometimes have to interpret a call, a European Commission call, and a reality that Nasreddin Hoxha has came up with many years, hundreds of years before. And I'm saying this because before making the planning for this event, with Odysseus and other people, we are involved in acquiring as much information from other similar events and also some info days that the Commission has organized. And for many things, they are unable to give exact questions. And this is simply because the call texts are produced of a long chain of interactions, and at some point they may include several different information sources, which may not necessarily make sense if someone tries to integrate them and develop a total understanding of it. This is, on the other hand, no excuse for doing the usual mistake from our side as proposers, that we selectively look into some parts of the call. No, the call has to be read entirely, understood in its entirety, and then it is how we will interpret it and translate. But otherwise, it should be possible that you will develop a holistic, so to say, understanding of the call. One sentence that we found, which is not exactly mentioned in the call, but it is a very important piece of information after having watched several hours of video recordings of meetings and presentations and events, which now you take it in that way in a slide, is that it's about this triangle. We have to have an as best, outstanding, excellent candidate to be the ERA chair holder. And there is the hosting institution there. But the most important part, apart from these two aspects, an excellent, outstanding candidate and a hosting institution that affords to build these ERA chair, is the match. So about the match is the story, the match is the setting, the match is the context that this is about to happen. Which means that don't think necessarily that the easy way is to present in a very good looking manner the candidate and then your institution, and that's it. No, these are the basic ingredients, but the recipe is the match, the story, the setting, the context, which means that don't simply think that you will integrate the ingredients and then the food to serve is ready. No, it is how you will build the story. Okay, and as we all have some basic knowledge about cooking, either actively preparing food or passively by enjoying food that someone else has prepared, you can see that this analogy is very relevant and it suits very well to the context. So now looking in detail into the call. This is the call identity. You can download the slides. You can use the link. I'm sure that you have already visited the link. So, and the destination is destination 2. It's about attracting and mobilizing the best talents. And the aim of the call is to foster brain circulation, including intersectoral mobility for researchers and innovators, and turn this into brain gain for the widening countries. This is mentioned in this forms one of the 6 objectives that is part of component 1 for widening participation and spreading excellence, which you can find in page 10 of the work program, which means that there is a usual tendency that people read only the call and nothing else. And now the call texts are also lengthy, so it's not only half a page or 2 paragraphs, they may be 2, 3 pages. So they say, I will read the call, I will go to prepare a proposal. And we need also to go read the destination. But here you need also to go and read also the preamble, the introductory text, and how these components are presented. Now, on brains, I will take the liberty to make some provide some anecdotal evidence. We are all aware about the use of the term technology readiness levels that takes place in many calls, commission calls. It is about research and innovation actions or innovation actions. And this has been introduced by Horizon 2020. So it was before 8 years. And at that time, it was considered a novelty. On the other hand, as you see here, this is a relatively recent publication, and it demonstrates something that we know, so it was not some hidden information, that actually the original idea about technology readiness levels comes from NASA in United States and in the 70s, 1970s. So it was something before 50 years. But in Europe, we discovered it by the time that Horizon 2020 was planned and introduced. So you may see there that there is a similar tendency to reinvent wheels that have been invented elsewhere, and in this case in the United States. And here you can see the case of some publication that was back in 1998. So it was now before 24 years, and it was about international mobility of scientists and engineers. And as you see, actually, it is like we are using the food analogy. It might be like that in Europe, we try to come up with recipes that were invented before many years, and they were not necessarily invented here. Of course, the success is how one implements a recipe. But the idea there is that these things, that these terms, these buzzwords, if you like, about brain gain and brain circulation are not new at all. So I would strongly suggest that you could somehow, in parallel to writing the proposal and the story in your proposal, the narrative in your proposal, it's good if you will have a look to what has been happening internationally, in Europe, but also elsewhere in the previous years, and go as much back as you have the time and afford to go. Reading the call together, it's about a call that has an indicative budget of 80 million. The expected contributions are between 1.5 and 2.5, and there is an estimate of about 32 projects to be funded. Can be more also, possibly. And it is a coordination and support action. On this, I will elaborate on the templates later so that you also get some more practical information about this and how to interpret and translate the actions to take. And it's important to check the small print. I am sure it is not a pleasant thing, and it is also tedious, and there is no fun at all. But in the call text, there are references to go find some relevant information in the annexes. And I'm sure that while we all are aware about the call topics, we may not have downloaded ever the annexes, or we may have downloaded them once and forgotten to read them. Now, the thing is that about the eligibility conditions, there are several small print information which might be very relevant here. And you can find there in page 9 of the general annexes is that coordination and support actions. It's about activities that contribute to the objectives of Horizon Europe. And it mentions there that these coordination and support actions exclude research and innovation activities in general, with an exception: research and innovation activities that will be carried out under the widening participation and spreading excellence component, which means that try to collect as much information so that you will not, for instance, build a work program for coordination and support actions, given the information we all know that coordination support action should not include any research and innovation activities, while have failed to see there that there is a profound exception in the case of proposals under the widening participation component. About the expected outcomes as they appear in the call, and I have placed in bold and italics, and in some cases also I have changed the color for some parts that I consider important to reflect on them and build a dialogue with other people within your institution that they will help you build your proposals, or even with competitors. Sometimes people, as I said before, in your institution may not care much, so they may think that, okay, it's your job to write a proposal, I don't care. I can help you, but tell me what you need from me. So this type of reflection and dialogue can mainly happen also with people either that you pay them, like consultants, or other competitors who will do this for free to you because they will also gain some information. The first item that appears there in the expected outcomes is that there should be progress towards more and better links between research and innovation actors. And it is about capitalizing on excellence, which means that if you have an excellent candidate and the story that you will build there will be about only using him or her for furthering research, it is actually ignoring something that stays in front of the call topic, which is about facilitating links between research and innovation. So be it that we take the most outstanding researcher or scientist, it's about the links between research and innovation, and not about keeping him or her in their golden ivory tower of research. Second point, it is about fostering brain circulation and attracting in a sustainable manner outstanding scientists and innovators. Now, one may only focus on the aspects of brain circulation, which is a very aesthetically not very nice term, especially if you try to visualize this, but the key here is the sustainable manner, which means that you may always take an edelweiss from a Swiss mountain and try to plant it in the desert. It might not be very sustainable there, which means that we might need to build an ecosystem to keep these edelweiss alive in the desert. So the thing there, and this comes back to the story, the context, the setting that I mentioned before, or the narrative as it appears in the Commission documents, is to provide support arguments for sustainability. Kemal, are there any questions as of now or not yet? Not yet, perhaps.
Let
Okay.
me check the amount,s and
But
I
anytime.
don't see-
Okay. But
on Slido, I seen a question. Do you want me to read it for you?
please, because they might relevant when they appear. So anytime feel comfortable to interrupt.
Okay, it's only one question. I'm not reflecting it. I'm reading for you. It's an anonymous question as well. Do we have to employ cross-cutting issues in ERA chair calls? ERA chair's call.
This, I think, is one of my last slides, and it is something that also Odysseus mentioned about the gender plans. And it's not only about genders, but yes, this is something that it has to be apparent there, and it will appear also later in some of the system and organizational level aspects that the proposal should fit to, which means that, yes, these cross-cutting aspects, I know they are posing an extra level of difficulty, but they are important. And the other thing there is that they are here and they will stay with us, which means that it's not something that we have to find some way now to cope with them. So we have to go a little deeper. And this is the thing there, that what I could imagine is that, okay, you can always organize a meeting in your organizations, in your institutions, and say that Monday, 24th of January, we have a general meeting. We will discuss about cross-cutting issues. And people will get bored, seriously bored. So the thing is that discuss this with other people, which may be all over Turkey or all over Europe or all over the world, how one can, in a sense-making way, use or integrate these aspects into everyday research agendas and routines. The third point, this measure of brain gain and creation of pockets of excellence. So one may say, for God's sake, these ideas, brain gain, brain circulation, now it comes the idea about pockets of excellence. But as I said, imagine that all these people, they have been paid for many years in order to come up with such nice terms and concepts. So it's not fun for them if they see that we don't appreciate this, which means that trying to go a little deeper and understand this terminology, and then start making use of it in a good way. So in a way that is natural for your proposal, and not like you have written your proposal and then you have annotated with all these terms in order to make it look like relevant. And this brain gain and these pockets of excellence are supposed to have an impact on the culture and performance of the host institutions. Because if they will not have such an impact on the culture and performance of host institutions, there will be no sustainable manner, which is what is mentioned above. So try actually to visualize that you are building a knowledge graph of all these terms, and your story has to reflect this. It is what one would expect the difference between having a good actor and simply an actor who might not necessarily be very successful, is that you expect that a good actor actually, it's not only that he or she is informed about their role, so that they know the script, but that they can go and impersonate the character that the author has Shakespeare or whomever had in his mind when they wrote the play. It's not easy, and it's not like metaphysical, it's very practical. I will mention this later when we go to the proposal templates. The leadership of the ERA shareholder and the creation of a permanent and excellent research group. And it's about also promoting institutional reforms, which means that it's there, for instance, that one may say that about the cross-cutting issues, that we will use this opportunity in order to change the way that as a university or as a faculty or as a department, we build our research agendas, or that we build this new ERA chair in order to use this as a lighthouse transformation project for our institution. And it is in all these things that one has to show that you are more seriously prepared, which means that if you only mention it, people might believe it. But if you also put there as an annex part some information about internal projects that take place in your institution, which will increase the sustainability of this ERA chair, the belief factor is far higher, and you have higher chances that people will give you in the evaluation a higher score. So there are two levels of contributions that are expected by the ERA chair proposals. The one is system level, the other is organizational level. This is what the call mentions. And there, the most important practical sentence is that projects are expected to contribute to some of the following outcomes. It is what is mentioned in page 15. And these outcomes are, these are the system level contributions, these are the organizational level contributions. We'll go through them later, but here it would be definitely a mistake to try to align yourselves with all of them. It will not be convincing anyone. So you should choose only some of them and elaborate and go deeper for this sum. Now, one might come up with a question, how much is sum? So sum is 1, but sum may be also all these 7 contributions and only address only 6. So I think that this varies, and actually you will see there which of these contributions are more natural to your case. You will discuss this with other people. You will discuss this ideally also with the ERA chair candidate. And something practical is that it can be the case that either the ERA chair candidate may care to prepare their proposal because they will possibly, hopefully get even some permanent position. Otherwise, they will have funding for 5 years, which is also not a little thing. Or it might be that you would write the proposal and the candidate may enjoy because he's outstanding and other people will do the job for him or for her. No, it is something that needs interaction, which means that it is a collaborative process there, that these system level contributions and later the organizational level have to be studied, explored. So as you see, the first is about increasing number of research and innovation talents moving to host organizations. Another one is to increase international, interdisciplinary, intersectoral mobility of research and innovators, which means that once you may import, let's say, an outstanding researcher for some area of technology or science, the idea is to not stay with him or her, but perhaps build a center of excellence in the future. This is not difficult. There are many stories that ground that this is no science fiction at all. I will mention only one that I happen to know because I have been in that place many years afterwards, of course. So I worked in Ireland in the University of Galway, the National University of Galway, since 2012. I was there. And I was working in an institute which was called DERI. It was the Digital Enterprise Research Institute. And this was funded by Science Foundation Ireland funding and, of course, European funding. And it all started by someone whom they hired, who then built the entire institute, which means that any ERA chair may be the starting condition, the starting point of building a big institute or transforming even the roadmap of the place where this ERA chair will come. Same as it was the case for Galway at the time that this Digital Enterprise Research Institute was established. So this think big aspect is inherent in this call. So it's important to think big. Encouraging institutional reforms in research institutions and in the national research and innovation system in widening countries. So I think that there is a strategic plan for development, a national strategic plan for development in Turkey, which means that you can very easily and comfortably align it with it. And I'm sure that also TÜBİTAK can provide excellent support and information on such aspects. Strengthening of widening countries' human capital base. This is number 4 in research and innovation, with more entrepreneurial and better trained researchers and innovators. This is a link to some context or stories, if you like, that would relate this ERA chair with some scientific entrepreneurship or academic entrepreneurship, some technoparks that may exist in the institution that will host this ERA chair, better communication of research and innovation results to society. So this is mainly about science communication. This might be a specific case, but again, if you see there that you will hire a candidate who may, in an increased way, take care of science communication, this is also important. But I think, for instance, that this bullet here, one of these system level contributions, may not be so strongly supported in the majority of proposals to be submitted. And what I mentioned before is that don't think that you have to also show there that you will fulfill this aspect and provide their very weak arguments. I will provide a very good example. I'm involved now in a national proposal here in Germany that is prepared, and we have 2 people, 2 academics that are specialized in science communication. And one of them is specialized also in AI, technologies, communication to other disciplines, which means that it's mainly their main job or specialization to do this. So it's not something like that a researcher who appears, an interview of whom appears in a magazine once in a year, which means that trying to avoid refer contributions to things that you don't have a strong base. Better quality and capacity of research and innovation contributing to Europe's competitiveness and growth. This is very generic. This means that try to handle it with caution in case you think that you don't have a strong story, I can avoid it. Improved excellence capacity and resourcing in widening countries and close the still apparent research innovation gap within Europe. Again, this is what someone might say apple pie and motherhood stuff, but try to either not include these contributions, or once you include them, provide specific information, how you will close the gap, provide also some quantitative information. Organizational level contributions, this is about the research excellence of the institution in the specific fields covered by the ERA shareholder, existing research excellence, and expected projections about this. Increased attractiveness of the institution for internationally excellent mobile researchers, which means that, again, there should be some proof of concept, if you would allow me to use this term, that for this institution A, there is some evidence that it can increase the attractiveness for bringing internationally excellent researchers and talents, in contrast to some institution B that may be in a much weaker position. So imagine that this is what happens in competition. They will receive many proposals, and then they might say, okay, we may have the same good story, but institution A is more convincing than institution B. Creation of a permanent and excellent research group in the chosen scientific field with a spillover effect on the institution. So here, the term about permanent is a trap, in which respect that it might be the motivation for an ERA shareholder to leave the country that they are currently living and come there. But on the other hand, the idea there is that, given the analogy that I made with Edelweiss, is that, so from the desert's point of view, they may offer to the Edelweiss a permanent place in the desert. The thing is that this is not sustainable, which means that the creation of the permanent research group there should be related with institutional reforms in the institution, the hosting institution, or some existing capacities that the institution can prove to have. Improved capability to succeed in competitive research funding in the EU. Here it is not difficult because it may relate to the number of other projects or actions that the institution is participating. In case your institution doesn't have a high record, it's not a problem at all, because you can avoid to address this. And then greater contribution to the knowledge-based economy and society, which is again very generic, and I would suggest you would not refer to it unless you will prepare very sound arguments, and not something that our ERA chair will also contribute to the knowledge-based economy and society of the region. So on the process, we have research organizations that are located in widening countries. So in our case, it is Turkey, and they should actually submit together the proposal with an outstanding researcher or innovator. Innovator, you may see someone who comes from industry or has been an entrepreneur, has a proven record of accomplishments. And the scientific field can be any domain. So there is no issue there. The questions here for someone to ask is, and we can then connect this with the experiences, Turkish experience, that we have 2 sessions. Which are the criteria for an outstanding researcher or innovator? So is it their Google Scholar Index? And there, it's also very relevant. So there are people who may have been publishing in the right places, and their work has been highly cited. There are people who may not have cared much about it, or which means that it's difficult there to define criteria for saying someone is an outstanding researcher or an innovator. And some everyday examples can demonstrate this difficulty. And in many cases, I did some research to see if there is some, let's say, stated experiences, and in many cases, even universities that are announcing competitions or prizes for outstanding researchers, they have some tautology there, something like that: you are outstanding if you are recognized as an outstanding, which seems like a joke, but it's not. So there, see how you could ground that your candidate is outstanding. So for me, it's not necessarily that you have to necessarily go for someone who can be regarded as a diva. The main issue there is about how good this match will succeed, okay? Which means that you may need to convince that this outstanding researcher will be there and leave a legacy, build something there with you that will have sustainability. And the institutions in the widening country shall be the coordinator and can opt here. It's two options. Either you submit a joint application with a legal entity currently employing the future ERA chair, or you submit the proposal as a single applicant. Now, the thing is that you may have someone who has been a researcher, an outstanding researcher in Germany or in Portugal, and he's currently employed in their institution in Portugal or in Germany, and then you jointly apply with their legal entity there. Otherwise, it's solo, only your candidate and your institution. And as it mentions there, it has to be the partner institution can be in any country, including countries outside the EU, and also the ERA shareholder can be citizen of any country in the world. Now, define in detail the gives and the takes. This is something important. So again, the text is text from the call, and I have annotated so that we can go a little more and elaborate. So the call topic asks that we detail the scientific and technical support that the ERA shareholder will provide to the institution there. So it's not about simply bringing the best of the best, but also what will be the specific scientific and technical support that this person will provide, and how these activities will upgrade from the current situation. And if there is a partner institution from their home country or their country of origin, then we should also outline what will be the additional support, which means that there may be, imagine now a fictitious hypothetical case that you get someone from Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, and you would like to still include this Fraunhofer Institute in Germany in your consortium, then we should exactly explicitly describe which are the activities, the support activities of the candidate and of his original institution that will be provided to you as coordinators. Proposals should also describe any relevant investments of the coordinator in research projects and how this will be achieved in terms of a better use of existing capacities. It's unpleasant, the level of complicacy, if someone doesn't have a sound story, which means that it's not an easy call in case you don't have a specific vision, or you may not need to have a vision as long as you have someone who might be the candidate ERA shareholder who may have his or her vision, and then you will allow him to implement their vision there. And then it will be natural for that person to come up with all these definitions of the gives and takes between the ERA shareholder, the partner institution, and you as coordinator. Now, the thing is that it's good if we care for the details. Again, in the call, it mentions existing or foreseen arrangements for compliance with ERA priorities, including the European Charter for Researchers and Code of Conduct. And someone might say, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not blah, blah, blah, because it mentions there that are to be outlined in the proposal, which means that one should go there find and read the ERA priorities. And there you see one of the ERA priorities is about gender equality and gender mainstreaming in research, which means that what one of you asked as a question before about the cross-cutting issues and what Odysseus also mentioned before, it's important. It's important. And if you would like to ask me now, okay, it's important. How should this be translated in the proposal? It's not a matter about writing one paragraph or half a page. And by the way, for a proposal that has 30 pages, no one would expect you to come up with half a page about gender equality. But it is something that should be reflected in several parts of the proposal, that this aspect is fulfilled, is satisfied. Same also about the Charter for Researchers and Code of Conduct for the recruitment of researchers. By the way, it seems like it's something new, but it's not. This Code of Conduct is with us since 2005. No one has read it. Few people may have cared about it. They may be some officers in some universities and not in all universities. So if I would go now to our university and ask them, do you know about this Code of Conduct for recruitment of researchers? They may tell me no. I may know the national legislation, or in German, that is a federal country, about the specific state that the university is part of, but they might ignore it. So go read these details and see how you can integrate them in your proposal. Additional documents. To allow for the determination of the commitment, proposals shall include a letter signed by the prospective ERA shareholder and a letter from the head of the coordinator institution. Now, these things with the letters, it's a formality, you may think. Yes, you will need to print them in the official letterhead. They will need to have a very nice signature. The important thing is the content of this letter. So if you will only have this letter to look like a cover letter, the story is lost. So there is no problem if the prospective ERA shareholder will provide you with a 2-page letter. And there, he or she will not need to retell us about things that one can read in the proposal. And there is no need to make this letter look like an executive summary of the proposal. So these are things that one may need to spend a little more time and have a good result. Now, because I'm sure there that you may now be thinking, okay, you said that you don't know if there is another ERA chair call after 15th of March. So why care? I could only tell you that if you prepare such a folder to be submitted by 15th of March, even in case to the ERA chair calls, even in case there will be no other call in the commission, I'm sure that this folder will be useful so that you might even attract private investors' interest to build this, but not using European Union funding, but some other source. Or it might still be some opportunity to come up with an alternative European Commission funding, not through Horizon Europe, but through some other structural funds or some other instrument or modality, which means that I'm convinced, and to this I think also Odysseus, but also our other panelists would agree with me that work that has been done, and good work and good quality work, is never a waste. It only is a matter when the results will be there for a success. Preconditions. The ERA shareholders might move on a temporary or permanent basis. One question that was asked by people in some of these events was whether Corona changes the situation. And okay, there is always the case there that someone may use this as an excuse to not immediately start being there. But I think that, okay, this idea about bringing ERA chairs holders is about people who would like to design their life and their careers there. So it's about a permanent commitment, and even though it may have a temporary start, okay? And I think that all other information we don't need to, you can go through it on your own, because I'm conscious about the time. To ensure the sustainability of the action, the ERA chair research team should have conditions to thrive after the end of the Horizon Europe funding. Again, this very dramatic term about thriving, it's about the sustainability. And once you build this pocket of excellence there, and this should be clearly demonstrated in the proposal, include the appointment of the leader of the newly created research group on a permanent basis, which means that no institution might like to commit to hire someone on a permanent basis if they are not convinced that it is all worth, which means that in this respect, the use of the 5 years funding is like a dowry for a successful match. And this is supposed to be conducted through an open recruitment procedure, which will be monitored by the Commission. And I will also not elaborate about these preconditions. It's good if you have a look to them and actually use them in order to build a checklist there that everything that you include in your proposal fulfills these conditions. And this was actually what I had in mind to the question that Kemal read before, that specific attention should be paid to gender equality objectives in line with the organization's commitments. Gender equality doesn't mean that you have to hire a female shareholder. It is about offering gender equality settings there in this pocket of excellence that you are now going as an institution to build, and also that this is complying with reforms within your institutions. And in this respect, for instance, I have no problem to say that if you have any feeling there that Turkey may be lagging behind in aspects related to gender equality, I would tell you that I think that the whole Europe is lagging behind. So the fact that some institutions have a gender equality plan is good, but it doesn't mean that it is fully implemented or fully applicable and followed, which means that in many cases these gender equality plans are wish lists, and institutions are struggling to implement them, and in many cases the way that this implementation takes place is not necessarily very sustainable or very much sense-making, which means that don't make the mistake to misinterpret what this is about. But of course, the spirit of something may be different in the way that it is implemented. So there, I think that you should pay this specific attention. And as I said before, this is also my last slide for today at the end of the presentation, that you can anytime come back to us and ask for questions or follow-ups, and we will be happy to assist you. So now, very quickly, I will go through, because I'm conscious about the time and I don't want Odysseus to be angry with me. Let's see the templates only, and the templates that you will use for Horizon Europe CSA actions, they are important. So don't think of the templates as a technicality. And these were how the old templates were looking like, and they were not very helpful. And in the past, for CSA action, we had 50 pages, now it's only 30. And in the past, there were 3 subsections, now there are 2, but this doesn't mean that there have been reductions in the content to provide. The old section 2 impact was having 2 sections. It still has 2 sections, but there is also a novelty, the impact canvas, the impact summary, on which I will elaborate. And the section 3 implementation, included 3 sections, now it's only 2 sections, and a chapter which was about management and decision making, it was now excluded because people were copying, pasting things from other proposals, so it didn't make sense at all. Now, about the impact canvas, it may be the most new or innovative or game-changing part in this new template, and you may be aware about the business model canvas of Alexander Osterwalder, and there the idea is to provide information in a structured form. And this seems to be something that people like to use more and more. The Horizon Results Booster uses it. There is the link canvas, the value proposition canvas. So you see the value proposition canvas, how it looks like, and the link canvas. Now, the thing is that the Horizon Europe impact summary is a summary, which means that it has to present their information that already exists in other parts of the proposal. And there are 6 components or aspects: the needs, the results, the measures, the target groups, the outcomes, and the impacts. And this is how it looks like. This is not my example. It's an example that is in the official templates of the Commission. And there is also some example fill out there about the needs or the results or the measures. Now, the thing is that in order to cope with this impact summary, you can come up in the beginning with the outcomes. So you may define the outcomes and then go define the results, the impacts, the needs. Or someone else may start from the needs and then go write the results or the measures or the groups or the outcomes. Or someone else might like, no, I don't feel comfortable to start from the outcomes or from the needs. I will start from the results. Whatever will be your starting point or the path that you will follow in order to fulfill this aspect, you will need to deal with this in a very good and convincing way. Now, some final remarks about the canvas is that it's not as easy as it seems, which means that just try to think that you have to, for your proposal, for your ERA chair proposal, you have to present the needs that drive your proposal. You have to present the results of this action. You have to mention dissemination, exploitation, communication measures that you will employ during this 5-year project so that you increase the sustainability, or to bring it closer to existing reforms in your institution, or how this role model will be a lighthouse implementation of an ERA will be a lighthouse project to be communicated and disseminated to other faculties or departments in your university or to other groups in your research institution. So it's not as trivial, but it's not difficult. It's not rocket science, and it is something that needs only to be taken seriously into account so that you fulfill these steps. And for me, this is my personal opinion, this summary should be the starting point for the proposal. What happens usually, people leave it for the last moment and they fill this table out with information that they have found in the proposal, which is the wrong approach. The ideal approach is that someone comes up with keywords and very brief statements in a bullet list there for each of these 6 sections, and then elaborates these bullets into text within the proposal. Okay, the new proposal on the plate has to be lived in by the people, and there is this famous 10,000 hours rule, and that makes someone expert, and less pages don't necessarily mean less effort. So this reduction from 50 to 30 pages, it's not necessarily making things easier. The impact canvas is tricky. It looks simple, but has to be filled out with good quality information. And the impact canvas can be the starting point for a proposal. Actually, I said before this malpractice that consortia fill out this form at the end. The reason for this is that they are lacking this high quality or good quality information in the beginning. and they feel better to elaborate, write 10 pages, and then selectively out of these 10 pages, they put there something that may be the important points in the impact summary. But for me, again, the best one might do, in case you could have the time, is that once you have now your impact summary, go rewrite your proposal with the important high quality information that you have put in the summary. But this is something, okay, we have to match idealism with pragmatism, and this would be too idealistic, so no one would have the resources for this. So any follow-up questions, you can contact me by email, and same also the help desk of the project. And now I'm here to answer any questions. I see there is a question, can you share link of consortium list? I don't understand what exactly you mean there. If someone can help me about this. These links that I shown before, they are part of the presentations that they will be in the website, and you can download them. Do we determine the ERA shareholder before applying for an ERA share call? Yes. Yes, this was actually also a question that was asked to the commission officers responsible for this call. And it is important because, okay, it is, one might say that, okay, what is important is the institutional plan to build a new ERA chair for some discipline or for some scientific area, but no, it is very important. So you can imagine that this is actually a very person-centric and institution-centric proposal. So it was this slide there that I had, this triangle, which is the person, the institution, and the story that connects them both, which means that, yes, you need this. And my feeling there is that it would not be worth for an institution to get a successful project by someone who may not commit to stay there and build their career there, and only for the 5 years of the funding. Of course, what may happen may be a different story, and for this we will have the opportunity to have the 3 other panelists today, that they can report also their own experiences. Should a shareholder be working in a different country during the application? Yes, of course, this is the normal thing. So it might not be necessarily a good idea to have an unemployed outstanding researcher, but there is also normal, so they may be in a maternity leave or a paternity leave, or they may have any other reason that they might not be currently employed. And this is not a problem, but and this is actually in order to facilitate the transition from the country that they are currently working. This example that I mentioned. So imagine someone who is working in a Fraunhofer Institute in Germany and might like to come and use this opportunity there in Turkey. They might involve their partner institution, the Fraunhofer, but there is no problem there. Yeah, and in case there is no conflict about this. I remember that there were ERA chair calls where the institution already have the ERA chair project. That is why I'm a bit confused. I don't understand exactly what you mean, but the thing is that in case you already have an ERA chair, you may also apply to build another ERA chair in some other field. So it's not about extending existing ERA chairs, if this helps you. Yeah. So the 2 options that I understand from your question. And are there any other questions? Yes, it was mentioned there that they can come from any university on Earth, and they can be citizens of any country on Earth. For extraterrestrials, I don't know, there may be no information yet, but yes, it's not a problem at all. It's not a problem at all. What I would be eager that we could discuss later is how much one can think that it might be a good vehicle for Turkish institutions to win back Turkish diaspora researchers and scientists who may be living and working in other countries so that they can have an incentive to come back in Turkey, or how much it might be for people who might be citizens of any other countries and build. I think that there it leaves it open. So I think that the door is open and everyone is welcome. And I think that the Turkish experiences we have, the two Turkish experiences we have today in the agenda, they actually describe such stories. So if there are no other questions, I think that we can go to our next panelist, and this is Professor Gerhard Wingender, and some biographical information is that Professor Wingender is an accomplished immunologist.
Diamantis, it's Kemal speaking. Seems that Professor Wingender not with us. Maybe he has some connection problems. Do you want me to
possible
ask?
we can adapt the agenda, no worries, but
Yeah.
I also had at some point the fear that we might have problems with internet from my side at least. So we keep this option open. You can contact him also by email, but perhaps this is things that can happen anytime that we then, but the idea there, what I mentioned before, is that actually, as you have seen in our agenda, we have two experiences, and one is they are both appearing as Turkish experience in session 3 and session 5, and one case is of a Turkish citizen and another is of a German citizen, who both can report on their Turkish experience. So may I then ask Professor Ihsan Solaroglu is with us or not? Because he may have.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then let me introduce you, because I wanted to check that you are there. So,
sure.
Professor Ihsan Solaroglu is currently working as a neurosurgeon and academic staff at the Koç University, Department of Neurosurgery. And his secondary appointment is adjunct professor of basic science research at Loma Linda University School of Medicine in California, in the United States of America. And his clinical interest focuses on neurovascular surgery and neuro-oncology. And his research has been published in high-level academic journals, including Stroke, Neuroscience, and the Journal of Neuroscience Research. And Professor Solaroglu has been awarded many times by different societies and is the member of advisory board of reviewer of many scientific journals. And the total amount of grants that Professor Solaroglu has received is more than exceeding $12 million. So the floor is yours. And actually, I would encourage you to also provide anecdotal information and evidence and all these stories that might increase people's feeling that there is something there to win out of this. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Apart from the funding.
Thank you very much, Adamantios. So, as we discussed before, the Kemal Bey and Selin Hanım, my slides are in English, but I will continue in Turkish to facilitate the understanding and so on. Maybe the attendees can catch something tricky points. If you will have any questions, I guess there's a simultaneous translation to English also. After that, we can discuss in English or Turkish. I would like to share my screen, if possible. Just a second.
Yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Benim ekranımı görebiliyor musunuz?
Slide modunda değil ama.
O zaman şöyle yapayım, çok özür dileyerek. Şey olarak mı gördünüz? speaker
Aynen o moddaydı hocam.
Anladım, tamam. Çok özür diliyorum zaman kaybı için.
Hocam isterseniz önce slaytınızı...
Çok güzel, teşekkür ediyoruz.
Şimdi
Tamam,
oldu herhalde,
teşekkürler.
değil mi? Devam ediyorum. Çok teşekkürler. Herkese iyi akşamlar. Tüm katılımcılara yurt içinden, yurt dışından sunumumu TREX projesi üzerine kurguladım. Ancak bütün hikayeyi başından sonuna bir projenin yaratılma öyküsünü her yönüyle anlatmaya çalışacağım. Çünkü biraz önce değerli Avrupa Birliği'nden katılımcılar zaten projenin yazımı sırasında vurgulanması gereken, göz önünde bulundurulması gereken noktalara çok iyi işaret ettiler. Overlap olsun istemiyorum ama siz eğer bir ERA projesi yazacaksanız bir hikayeyi yazarken bizim örneğimizden faydalanmanız için nelere dikkat etmeniz gerekir onu vurgulayacağım. Biz 2021 yılında, 2020'nin sonunda 21 yılında Koç Üniversitesi'nde bir transplant immünolojisi araştırma mükemmeliyet merkezi kurmak için TREX projesini yazmıştık. İlk deneyimimiz 2018 yılıdır. Ondan bahsedeceğim. İlk deneyimimizde başarılı olmamıştık ve fonlanmamıştı. İyi bir puan almamıza karşın. Ancak ısrarla konuya devam ettik ve nihayetinde projemiz 2,5 milyon euro gibi bir desteğe Avrupa Birliği tarafından layık görüldü. Bu da bizim için gurur verici. Ben bir beyin cerrahıyım. Transplant immünolojisiyle hiçbir ilişkim yok. Sadece tıp fakültesinde 20 sene önce okuduğum transplant ve immünoloji konusu haricinde bugüne kadar transplant immünolojisiyle ya da transplantasyonla ilişkili hiçbir şey yapmadım. Ama ona rağmen belki biraz önceki konuşmacıların söylediklerini de dikkate aldığınızda bir projenin yazımının önemli kurallarını yerine getirdiğinizde alanınızdan bağımsız olarak da fonlanabileceğinizin bir göstergesi olması açısından önemli buluyorum başarımızı üniversite olarak. Kısaca Koç Üniversitesi'nden bilgi vereyim. Koç Üniversitesi biliyorsunuz Türkiye'nin non-profit vakıf üniversitelerinden biri. Kuruluşunun 28. yılı, genç bir üniversite ama Türkiye'de öne çıkmış, butik bir üniversite olmasına karşın öne çıkmış araştırma üniversitelerinden bir tanesi. 40'ın üzerinde ülkede 200'den fazla kurum kuruluşla işbirliği içinde Koç Üniversitesi ve nereden bakarsanız bakın Türkiye'de alınan ERC grantları, Avrupa Komisyonu grantlarına bakarsanız eğer bu bir çıktıysa Koç Üniversitesi bir araştırma üniversitesi olduğunu kanıtlamış durumda. Tabii bu bizim projeyi yazarken bizim açımızdan önemli verilerden bir tanesiydi. Tabii yine ne kadar önemli bilmiyorum ama üniversiteleri sıralayan kuruluşların yaptığı analizlerde de ki farklı biliyorsunuz ranking kuruluşları var. Koç Üniversitesi Türkiye'deki gerek tıp alanında gerek diğer alanlarda en iyi üniversiteleri arasında gösteriliyor her zaman. Tam bir araştırma üniversitesi diyebilirim Koç Üniversitesi'ne. O yüzden proje yazımında yazdığımız her cümlenin arkasını doldurabilecek bir veri vardı elimizde. Bunu oldukça önemsiyorum. Özür dilerim. Yıllar içinde Koç Üniversitesi'nin aldığı dış kaynaklı fonların bir göstergesi. 2016 yılında KUTTAM yaklaşık 10 milyon dolarlık bir projedir. Gene benim PI'yi olduğum bir proje. Bir destek aldı. Ve nihayetinde 2020'de de Koç Üniversitesi gerek TÜBİTAK'tan, gerek Avrupa Komisyonu'ndan, gerekse özel sektörden aldığı destekle giderek artan ivmeyle araştırma fonlarını zirveye çıkarttı diyebilirim. Bunlar neden önemli? Tabii ki TÜBİTAK tarafından baktığımızda da öğretim üyesi sayısı diğer kıyaslanan üniversitelere göre çok az sayıda olmasına rağmen Koç Üniversitesi TÜBİTAK'ın verdiği ödüllerin şu an Türkiye'de en fazla sahibi olan öğretim üyelerinin çatısı altında barındırıyor. Doğal olarak güçlü bir üniversite olduğumuzun baştan bu projeyi yazarken bir temel bilgi olarak köşeye koyduk. Tıp Fakültesi Koç Üniversitesi'ne sonradan eklemlendi. Kuruluşunun 15. yılında. 2009 yılında kurulduk. 2010 yılında ilk tıp fakültesine öğrencilerimizi aldık. Aslına bakarsanız bir uluslararası tıp alanında araştırmada, eğitimde ve hasta klinik hizmetlerde lider konuma geçmeyi isteyen bir tıp fakültesi olarak kurulduk. 3 önemli araştırma alanımız vardı. Kanser, nörobilim ve yeni enfeksiyonlar. Ancak bir temel kural olarak high impact research dediğimiz, yani etkili research alanlarının hepsini destekleme yönünde bir prensip sahibi olduk ki ben 7 yıl araştırmadan sorumlu dekan yardımcısı olarak geçtiğimiz aya kadar görev yaptım. Koç Üniversitesi'nin kuruluşundan bu yana. Tabii bu süreçte aldığımız fonlarla, ki bunun PA'yı benim, Translational Medicine konusunda bir Research Center kurduk. Biyomedikal alanda özellikle. Peşinde koştuğumuz en önemli şey inovasyondu. Ve bugün geldiğimiz noktada yaklaşık 8.000 metrekarelik alanda interdisipliner research'ün yürütüldüğü yaklaşık 250'den fazla araştırmanın içinde tam zamanlı yer aldığı bir merkez haline dönüştük. Şu an ulusal bir mükemmeliyet merkezi olma konusunda da TÜBİTAK'a başvurumuz var. Ve 4 yıl içinde kuruluşundan bu yana bu merkez 96'sı ulusal, 37'si uluslararası, 120'nin üzerinde projeye ev sahipliği yaptı. Ve de yaklaşık 130 milyon TL'nin üzerinde bir araştırma fonu getirdi üniversiteye. Tabii buradan gelen bir deneyimle birlikte ben son 10 yıl içinde 450 milyon euro gibi büyük bir yatırım yapan Koç Üniversitesi Hastanesi'nin kurduğu service line dediğimiz tıp alanında, yani kanser programı, enfeksiyon hastalıkları, entegre nörobilim programları gibi organ transplantasyonunun da kurulduğunu gözlemledim ve içinde yer aldım. Organ transplantasyonu konusunda son derece yetkin, tecrübeli bir klinik ekip aramıza katıldı. Ancak araştırmadan sorumlu dekan yardımcısı olarak ve KUTTAM'daki direktörlük pozisyonum süresince transplantasyon konusundaki research'ün üniversitenin diğer alanlarından geri kaldığını, bu kadar önemli bulduğumuz bir alanın geri kaldığını gördüm. Bu bizim için tetikleyici mekanizmalardan birisi olmuştu. Tabii research dediğiniz zaman bunu Avrupa Birliği'ne anlatmanın ya da dünyadaki diğer rakiplerinize anlatmanın ya da platformlarda anlatmanın bir yolu olmalı. Sadece makale sayısı öğretim üyesine düşen atıf sayısının önemi yok. Alan ağırlıklı etki değeri dediğimiz bir şey var. Sayval Database'den çekebileceğiniz. Bakın bu 2009-2021 yılları arasında, yani tıp fakültesinin kurulmasıyla birlikte Koç Üniversitesi'nin alan ağırlıklı etki değeri, yani bir alanda yaptığınız yayının dünyadaki o alanda yapılmış yayınlara nispeten aldığı atıf değerini gösteriyor. Koç Üniversitesi Tıp Fakültesi, bu yukarıdaki siyah şeydir. Potansiyel olarak öğretim üyelerinin Koç Üniversitesi'nin çok daha üzerinde bir alan ağırlıklı etki değeri yaratabileceğini söyleyebiliriz. Yani Tıp Fakültesi Koç Üniversitesi'nin önünde bir potansiyel öğretim üyelerinin sahibi şu an, 2015 yılından itibaren özellikle. Yani bize gelen öğretim üyeleri eski backgroundlarındaki research potansiyelini gösterirlerse Koç Üniversitesi'nin çok üzerine çıkabilirler. Bu bizdeki performansları, yani Koç Üniversitesi afiliyasyonuyla yapılan yayınlara baktığınızda şu an 2021'de Koç Üniversitesi'nin üzerine çıkmış durumda. Ancak potansiyele bakarsanız çok daha üstünde olabilirler. Bu bizim için ümit verici. Ve de benchmark üniversitelerimize baktığınızda, potansiyelimizi değerlendirdiğinizde Rice gibi, Duke gibi bizim boyutumuzda uluslararası başarılarını kanıtlamış üniversitelerin üzerine de çıkabileceğimizi fakültesi olarak rahatlıkla söyleyebilirim. Şimdi bütün bunları cebimize koyup projeyi yazarken bunları cebinizde varsayarak yazmanız son derece önemli diye düşünüyorum. Peki, transplantasyon konusunda özellikle mükemmeliyetin yayılımı konusunda neden ihtiyacımız var? Bizim alan ağırlıklı etki değerimiz ortalamada 2'lere yaklaşırken transplantasyon konusundaki research'ümüzün 0,77 alan ağırlıklı olduğunu görmek bizim özellikle de yapılan yayınların 5 tane, 3 tane, 1 tane gibi gördüğümüzde son derece az sayıda kısıtlı ki bu yapılan yayınların da pek çoğunun aslına bakarsanız klinik yayınlarla ilişkili olduğunu düşünürsek temel bilimler anlamında, inovatif, multidisipliner çalışmalar anlamında bir eksiğimizin olduğunu göstermek son derece önemli. Ne yaptık biz? İlk 2018'e, özür dilerim burada bir yanlışlık var. 2018 başvurusuna bir multidisipliner research grubu oluşturmak ve de transplantasyon immünolojisi konusunda bir mükemmeliyet merkezi olma yolunda bir proje yazımıyla işe başladım ben. Bunun sadece akademik anlamda research çıktısından öte, business anlamında da sadece Türkiye için değil, Avrupa Birliği için de önemli büyük bir markete sahip olduğunu da vurgulamam son derece önemliydi. Biliyoruz ki 2025 yılında transplantasyon marketi 50 milyar doların üzerine çıkacak ve de bunun %40'ı solid organ transplantasyonları ile ilişkili olacak. Tabii stem cell transplantasyonu da bir transplantasyonun yani organ naklinin ya da doku naklinin, hücre naklinin önemli bir kısmı 2025'te yaklaşık 15 milyar dolarlık bir markete sahip olacak. Büyük bir market aslına bakarsanız business anlamında da. 2018'de biz Koç Üniversitesi Transplant Immunology Research Center of Excellence yani özetle TÜREX projesini yazdığımızda nihayetinde ilk başvurumuzla birlikte fena bir puan almadık. Excellence konusunda yazdıklarımız 4,5, Impact konusunda yazdıklarımız 4,5 aldı. Ancak bir şeyi unutmuştuk. 3,5 skorla implementation konusunda ciddi bir büyük eleştiriler değil ama önemli eleştirileri aldığımızı düşünüyoruz ve o dönemde 12,5 puan almasına karşın fonlanmamış, her ne kadar TÜBİTAK sağ olsun bizi eşik üstü ödülüne layık görse de bunu bir amorti ikramiyesi olarak düşünebilirsiniz. Aslında çok da mutlu etmemişti bu sonuç beni. Ve gelen önemli eleştiriler içinde birkaç tanesinin altını çizdim. Aslında önemli derken projeyi yazarken kolayca vurgulayabileceğiniz, detaya inebileceğiniz ama bizim gözden kaçırdığımız konulardı bunlar. Örnek vereyim. Biraz önceki officer'ın söylediği gibi ERA Chair'in entegrasyonu konusunda önemli bir yapısal, yönetimsel değişikliği yeterince izah etmemiştik. Bunu yerine koymak, bunu bir sonraki başvuruda tamamlamak son derece kolaydı aslına bakarsanız. Keşke ilk başvuruda bunu düşünebilseydik ama Türkiye'de daha önce ERA Chair konusunda bir başarılı olmuş kurum olmadığı için bizim pek hani fikir danışacağımız, fikir elde edebileceğimiz çok da bir şansımız yoktu aslına bakarsanız. Bunu rahatlıkla düzeltebildik. Bir planlanmış structural change konusunda bir atılım yapmamız bekleniyordu. Onun dışında her ne kadar biz yazmış olsak da projemize yeterli olarak vurgulamadığımız Nature, Science gibi ya da profesyonel mesleki birliklerin, kurum kuruluşların web sayfalarında iş ilanına çıkacağımızı vurgulamamıştık. Onun dışında ERA Chair'in team olarak kurulurken Chairholder'ın nasıl diğer insanları işe alacağı konusunda daha çok şekilsel aslına bakarsanız ya da yöntemsel yöntemsel kısımları izah etmediğimiz için başarısız olduğumuzu düşünüyorum. Tabii excellence konusunda özellikle ve impact konusunda 4,5 almak bizim aslına bakarsanız sıkı bir yerinden projeyi tuttuğumuzu gösteriyordu. Sadece nasıl yapacağımız konusunda ikna etmeyi bize gösteriyordu. Ama şunu söyleyebilirim, ben her ne kadar beyin cerrahi alanında uzmanlık eğitimini tamamlamış olsam da proje yazımı konusunda uzun yıllardır elde ettiğim bir tecrübe vardı. Ama hepsinden önemlisi, şunu gördüm ERA-Çevir projesini yazarken, vurgulamanız gereken özellikle impact ve excellence konusunda bu projeyle birlikte size gelecek ERA-Çevir ve kurulacak araştırma merkezinin kurumunuz için ya da Türkiye için ne kadar önemli olduğunun yanı sıra ve hatta ötesinde Avrupa Birliği için ne ifade ettiğini çok iyi vurgulamanız lazım. Benim ilk başvurumda sanıyorum eksik bıraktığım noktalardan bir tanesi de oydu. Türkiye'de bir transplant immünolojisi mükemmeliyet merkezinin kurulması benim kurumumun eksikliğini kapatacak. Türkiye'nin eksikliğini kapatacak ama çok daha önemli bir şey var. Avrupa'nın öncelikleri arasında neyi yerine koyacak bunu vurgulamak için ben yüzlerce sayfa rapor okudum ve en sonunda o trik noktayı buldum ve onu da bu proposal'a ekledim. O yüzden elbette kendimiz için önemli olan kurum kuruluşları kurmak, yapılandırmak önemli olabilir ama Avrupa Birliği'nden bu noktada destek istiyorsanız Avrupa Birliği için ne ifade ettiğini de çok iyi vurgulamak zorundasınız. Bunu önemli dikkate almak zorunda olduğumuzu söyleyebilirim. Nihayetinde 2019'da tekrar bu başvuruyu yaptık ve başvurunun değerlendirmesi sonucu 4,5 gibi implementation, impact ve excellence konusunda ki bunu bir paper yazmak gibi düşünün. Implementation konusunda gelen tüm eleştirilere sadece laf kalabalığıyla değil, ispatlarıyla birlikte bunların hepsini proje metnine tekrar koyduk. Bu proje metninin bir günde, 2 günde, 3 günde yazmak mümkün değil. Onu söyleyeyim öncelikle. Biz ilk proje metnini yaklaşık ben tam zamanlı olarak 7/24 tam 3 haftada yazmıştım. Ama bugünkü hani bütün tecrübemle ben bugün yeni bir 2022 ya da 23 ERA-Çevir projesi yazıyor olsam bu minvalde sanıyorum 4 hafta kadar tam zamanlı olarak vaktimi bu projeyle harcamak zorundayım diye düşünüyorum. O yüzden eğer bir ERA-Çevir projesi yazacaksanız lütfen konuyla ilişkili Türkiye'nin eksiğini, mükerrer olmayacak bir alanı seçin. Avrupa'nın bu konudaki birazdan söyleyeceğim önceliklerini mutlaka okuyun ve belki de en önemli şey, benim en çok vaktimi alan şey Avrupa Komisyonu'nun belirli alanlarda transplant immünolojisi, transplantasyon, networking, sağlık alanı öncelikleri bunların tüm raporlarını okudum. Yani yüzlerce belki daha fazla sayfa rapor okudum alanımın dışında. Projeyi yazarken de tabii ki bütün iş paketlerini nasıl yapılacağını, hangi dönemde yapılacağını, bunların her birisi için başarının nasıl ölçüleceğini de tanımlamış olduk. Tabii projenin bir yönetim şeklini, ERA-Çevir Holder ki sanıyorum 2022'deki en önemli değişiklik ERA-Çevir pozisyonuna aday olan kişiyi şimdiden yazabiliyorsunuz. Biz yazarken bir ERA-Çevir koluna çıkacağımız ve bütün başvuruları toplayıp içinden bir seçim yöntemini seçeceğimizi söylemiştik. Belki bu haliyle çok daha efektif olacağını düşünüyorum. Avrupa Birliği bu konuda çok önemli bir olumlu yönde bir karar vermiş projenin yapılandırılmasında. Ki bir pandemi sürecinde biz ERA-Çevir Holder bulduk. Her bir iş paketi, bunların liderleri ve her bir liderin taskları, bu tasklarında nasıl başarıya ulaşacağını detaylı anlattık. Bakın, birkaç başlıkta özetleyeyim. widespread, yani 2022 için söyleyeyim, T-Rex'in skopu neresinde? Bunları skop 1, skop 2, skop 3 böyle uzayıp gidiyor bunlar. Ama şu var, söylemeye çalıştığım şey, Horizon 2020 için bizim yaptığımız şey, bizim hedeflerimizin ne kadar onunla uyuştuğu ve nasıl olacağı konusundaydı. Hedefleri her ne kadar birlikte tarif edebilseniz bile nasıl yapacağınız konusu son derece önemli. Ulusal ve uluslararası research aktivitelerinin bizimle ilişkisini mesela tanımladık. TÜBİTAK, TÜSEP, bunlar Türkiye için 2 önemli kurum. Sağlık alanında araştırmaları fonlayan. Peki Horizon Europe için ne konuda önemliydik? Bunları izah ederken bir noktada bakın TÜSEP'le ilişkili bir bold alan göreceksiniz. TÜSEP is also one of the institutions that declared their interest into T-Rex outcomes by letter of support. Mutlaka destek mektuplarını maksimum oranda almanız gerekiyor. Bizim ilk başvurdaki eksiklerimizden bir tanesi de, ki o detaylı gittiğimizde görebiliriz, yeterli destek mektubunu almamış olmamızdır. Bundan çok haberdar değildim ben. O yüzden alabilecek olmama rağmen almadığımı görüyorum o dönemde. Peki, Türk araştırma sahasında ERA'nın öncelikleriyle T-Rex'in vizyonu ve yaklaşımı arasında ne gibi kesişmeler var? Bunları da çok net ifade etmeniz gerekiyor bütün proje bazında. O yüzden özellikle YÖK'ün raporları, ki bu raporlara ben TÜBİTAK, YÖK, Strateji Bütçe Başkanlığı, Sağlık Bakanlığı gibi kurum kuruluşların raporlarına KUTTAM projesini yazdığım dönemden çok aşinayım. O yüzden onları çok daha hızlı analiz edebildim ve buraya koydum. Sizin bu raporları da okuyarak başlamanız son derece önemli. Özellikle TÜBİTAK'ın stratejik noktadaki raporlarını ve Strateji ve Bütçe Başkanlığı, Avrupa Birliği yanı sıra. Böylece kesişen alanları bulmak son derece kolay. Gene biraz önce officer'ımız bahsetti. ERA'nın prioritileriyle T-Rex'in aldığınızda structural change neler yapacağız? Bunları da her bir task ve bu taskları da nasıl başarılı olup olmadığımızı anlamak açısından tanımlamak son derece önemli. Dikkatinizi çekerim. Page 10 of 81 diyor. Yani 81 sayfalık bir proje metnidir bu. Ve de her bir task için, mesela dissemination ve communication konusunda nasıl başarılı sayacağız kendimizi? İşte web portalımız 30.000'in üzerinde alacak. Social medyada 10.000'in üzerinde insan yapacağız. Scientific paper nasıl olacak? Kaç katılımcıyla kaç tane yapacağız uluslararası dissemination eventlerini? Diğer inisiyatiflerle sinerjiyi nasıl, joint action kaç olacak? Bunların hepsini tanımlamak ve rakamsal olarak eğer mümkünse tarif etmek, sadece sözde şunlarla işbirliği yapacağım kelimesinin çok daha ötesine geçecektir ve çok daha ikna edici olacaktır diye düşünüyorum. Tabii ERA siz bunun dışında olacaksınız, yeni yazacak kişiler, ama biz gene tanımlarken ERA seçiminde işte gelen eleştiriler doğrultusunda scientific performansı nasıl, management ve secure fund konusunu, teaching coordination'ı, scientific ve management planını candidate'lerden, adaylardan aldığımızda nasıl değerlendireceğimizi, her birinin ağırlığının ne olduğunu, ulusal bir interview evaluation yapacağımızı, uluslararası bir danışma kurulu kuracağımızı, bunların hepsini detaylı olarak yazdık. Ve de proje içinde temporary ya da permanent konusu da geçti biraz önce anlatılırken, biz 5 yıllık bir pozisyona insan alacağımız ama sonucunda tenure pozisyonunu offer edebileceğimizi projeye yazmıştık. Projemiz fonlandıktan sonra bir web sitesi kurduk. İşte ERA arayışına girdik. Bunlar bugünkü süreçte olmayacak ama gene de dikkatinizi çekerim. Bütün alanla, konuyla ilişkili federasyonlarda, özellikle Avrupa federasyonlarına, immünogenetik gibi bütün duyurularımızı, yazışmalarımızı, her şeyi hızlandırdık ve onlarca yerde pozisyonun açıldığını duyurduk. Bu süreçte de önemli bir noktayı dile getirmek isterim. Şu anki yeni ERA-Chair başvurularında bu böyle mi işler bilmiyorum ama TÜREX'in uluslararası Advisory Board'unun kurulması, performans indikatörlerinin saptanması, position'ın açılması, management and quality plan gibi süreçler ilerlerken bunların her birini Avrupa Birliği'ne raporladık. Ancak önemli problemlerden bir tanesi biraz da şanssızlık diyeyim ama biz gene de şanslı olarak bitirdiğimizi düşünüyorum. Pandeminin başlamasıyla birlikte ülkelerin birbirleri arasında yolculukların kısıtlanmış olması, giriş çıkışların kısıtlanmış olması, hatta insanların hayata yeniden bakışlarının gündeme gelmesi, hayat tarzlarını değiştirmesi, ülke değiştirmenin sağlık kriterlerinden bir tanesinin ülkenin sağlık sistemleri ve yeterlilikleri olmasının bile düşünülmesi son derece zor bir dönemi bize karşı karşıya bıraktı. Ama nihayetinde biz bu konuyu biraz gecikmiş, sunduğumuz tarih aralığından 6 ay gecikmiş olarak tamamlama fırsatını bulduk. Bu önemli bir problem. Bunu bilmekte fayda var. Proposal'ı yazarken ERA-Chair Holder'ın ilk 6 değil, fonların açıklanmasından itibaren şöyle düşünün, Amerika'dan size ya da Avrupa'nın bir ülkesinden birisi size gelecekse Eylül-Ekim ayından önce sizler başlayamaz. Çünkü hiçbir kurum Mayıs ayında bir önemli bir araştırmacısının ayrılmasına ve de gelip hemen sizde Nisan-Mayıs aylarında başlamasına müsaade etmeyecektir. Öte yandan ERA-Chair Holder çocukları varsa eğer ülke değiştireceğine göre Mayıs ayında çocuklarını alıp size getiremeyecektir. Bunları hep bir sonraki akademik yılla birlikte yapmak isteyecektir. O yüzden o ilan süresini planlarken bunu göz önünde bulundurmak da son derece önemli diye düşünüyorum. Work package'lerimiz, komponentlerimiz, her şey tanımlandı, raporlandı ve nihayetinde çok mutluyum ki Heidelberg'den dünyanın belki de ilk 10'u arasında sayabileceğimiz Türk kökenli ancak tüm eğitimini Almanya'da tamamlamış. Aslına bakarsanız Alman vatandaşı olan, Türkiye'de sadece bir geçmiş bağı olan ailesel olarak Caner Süsal Bey, ERA-Chair Holder olarak aramıza katıldı. Son derece mutluyuz bu konuda. Özür dilerim. Dünyanın önemli transplant immünologlarından biri. Ve biz de nihayetinde geçen ay laboratuvarlarımızı kurduk, akreditasyonumuzu aldık. İnsan gücünü tamamlıyor şu an Caner Bey. Sanıyorum hem Avrupa Birliği için hem Türkiye için hem de bölge için çok önemli gelişmeleri bu birkaç sene içinde, 3-4 sene içinde göreceksiniz. Bu destek için de Avrupa Birliği'ne ayrıca müteşekkir olduğumuzu ve destekleri için TÜBİTAK'a son derece müteşekkir olduğumuzu bir kez daha vurgulamak isterim bu fakültesi adına. Tabii bütün bu süreçlerde en önemli nokta üniversitenizin sonuçta ERA-Chair gelecek. Üniversitede structural change, değişiklikler olacak. Bunun için üst yönetimin şeyi önemli. İradesi önemli. Önemsemesi önemli. Bunun için yatırım yapması önemli. Bunlardan emin olmadan yola çıktığınızda bunu ERA-Chair fonunu almış olsanız bile nihayetinde başarılı olmadığınız sürece ülkemiz için önemli bir dezavantaj yaratır. Tabii ki bütün bunları yaparken özellikle Emrah Göker Bey başta olmak üzere bizim TTO ekibimizde proje geliştirme yöneticisi Emrah Bey'in çok büyük katkıları oldu bize. Onun da bir ERA-Chair tecrübesi yoktu ama eski ERC tecrübeleriyle Emrah Bey ve Meltem Hanım, Ebru Tan Hanım'ın ekibinden bize çok büyük katkıları oldu. Ve nihayetinde biz bunu aldık. Mutluyum bir beyin cerrahı olarak alanın dışında bir Avrupa Birliği projesi almış olmaktan. Tabii ki her şeyi burada detaylı anlatmam mümkün değil zaman sebebiyle. Bana her zaman e-mailimden ulaşabilirsiniz. Geç size yanıt veririm. Bir sorunuz olursa da bu konuyla ilişkili memnuniyetle yanıtlarım. Benim anlatacaklarım bu kadar. Umarım faydalı olabilmişimdir. Teşekkür ediyorum hepinize sabrınız için.
Thank you, Ihsan. I'm sorry that I didn't understand anything, but I was looking the screen. So at some point I was guided to the information you were sharing with the people. And I don't know how much time or how much comfortable you would feel, and also the other panelists, to share aspects that might be rather regarded as soft aspects, which might make a success story, or which might help people see there that it will not be a success story, because I think that the whole operation, it is a matchmakings, and matchmakings are not necessarily all of them made in heaven. So they are made on earth, and they may face many difficulties. So in many cases, the good intentions from both sides are not ensuring a good result at the end.
Well,
but
thank you very much, Adamantios. Actually, I briefly stated or mentioned that it's not enough. Writing an NRHA project is not similar with the writing a research project. So I mentioned that and stated a lot of things about it because and on the other hand, I again mentioned that you have to mention why it is important to have NRHA, not only for your institution, not only for your country, but also more importantly, what will it mean for European countries? So it is okay. It is a way or step of integration of Turkey with European countries, but more importantly, for example, transplantation immunology. If everything will be well with transplantation immunology in Turkey, at the end, it will result in the waiting periods will decrease in European countries. So you have to catch this, okay? It will not decrease the, or it will decrease the mortality or morbidity results in European countries, not only in Turkey or not only in my institution. So
I think this example is also good in which respect that I think that I'm not, there is no case of flattering you that you are an outstanding researcher and an excellent scientist. On the other hand, here one needs to bring business arguments that you, being an excellent scientist, an outstanding researcher, you may care about other things. So it's not necessarily, on the other hand, the problem there is that these business arguments, or these arguments that demonstrate the value of bringing you and having a narrative there, they should not be like general blah blah blah. They should be sound, which means that this means there that either the team from an institution will work together with the scientists that they would like to bring, or there is always the case that the scientists may have the luxury to not care about such earthy things, and there they might need to go through and bibliography or information that may be there, and they have to build sound argumentation, which then they can provide you with, and then you can see there that, okay, this is too far stretched, this makes sense, this is wrong, and this is right, and we can amplify the arguments, which means that, but the thing there is that having also own experience, but also several other people here from working in other countries. So I come originally from Greece, I have worked in Ireland, I have worked in Germany, in another university than I am now employed. I have worked also in Switzerland, and I can see there that sometimes you may have a good person, a candidate, and you may have also a good institution, but there is no chemistry, it doesn't work. So it's like, I would not like to go back to a Nasreddin Hoxha story, but I'm sure there that some wisdom of what might work and what might not work is not something that we need to invent now in the 21st century. But the thing there is that there are also, in many cases, problems when there are high expectations from both sides. So same like a good marriage is a marriage where both parts have lower expectations. It is something that people who have been for long years married, they know this. But in many cases, this is the thing there, that in a proposal, you have to think big and you have to set the bar high. And setting the bar high means that both sides may have high expectations, at least projected in a document, and the reality may be a little different. It's not necessarily that the reality is bad, it's only different. And when we are educated to have these Hollywood-like fantasies that the Commission asks us to present in narratives, then it's a different thing what we see as reality. I think that now it's time to go to you, Ivona, and the floor will be yours. I will present you. Dr. Ivona Kieda is a senior project manager and head of communications at the Institute of Animal Reproduction and Food Research of the Polish Academy of Sciences. And she is one of the authors of the successful ERA chair proposal in Poland with the acronym Welcome To. And in this project, Ivona coordinates the design and deployment of communication and dissemination actions to ensure visibility of Welcome To outputs among regional, national, and European stakeholders. I think that all information you are going to share with us and anecdotal evidence will be very relevant and very useful. So the floor is yours, Ivona.
Thank you, Adamantis. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and greetings from the snowy and blizzard-like Poland. So let me just share my screen first. Okay. And please, if you could just confirm that everything is visible.
Yeah, we see your screen, and now you go to the presenter mode, and I hope it will work.
Yeah, just this is the technical version. So yeah, now it should be fine. Okay, is it fully visible?
It's fully visible, but it's still not in the presenter mode. So make it go down and choose the presenter mode.
Yeah, for me, it's already like this.
Huh. Okay, then you have the problem that I had before, and I used the Slido questions in order to go save this as a PDF file. But just one question: do you use animation in your slides or not?
Just two of them.
Okay, then we can have a look at it as it is, or if you like, you can save it as a PDF file and then make the presentation there. Don't worry, there is no need to get stressed about it at all.
Dear Ivona, we can open your presentation and you can say, just go ahead and we can move on. What is it okay for you?
Yeah, I think so, but it still doesn't work, right?
Yeah. This is the same that happened with me also.
Okay, just so wait for me again. So maybe I would try some other way.
Why don't you put your presentation in the slide mode first, then share your screen? That would work.
Okay.
As you see, we talk about excellence, but there is proven excellence record of the organizers of the events. And thank you, Celine and Kemal, for being there.
Okay, one more time. Now, does it work now?
No. Ivona,
Still no.
either you will ask or command Kemal and Celine to change the slide, or you will save it as a PDF and then you will hold the control there, whatever you like. Kemal is now sharing the screen.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just go like this, so not to waste any more time. But let's move to the first slide then. So again, hello everyone, sorry for this technical difficulties. So I will tell you today a bit more about IRACHER project, acronymed Welcome To, which reads into welcoming IRACHER to the Center of Excellence in Nutrigenomics for optimizing health and well-being. This is a project that we started to implement since October 1st. 2020, so it's been only a year since we got the official approval of our project, and we are a freshman in this, but I will try to share the best practices we gained during this project. Next slide. But first, who we are based in Poland, and we are this interdisciplinary team of researchers that investigate how our environment, including food, impacts the health and well-being of humans and animals. And this little graphic here perfectly depicts the three areas we are operating in with our research. It's food, health, and reproductive biology. And these three areas are overlapping and overlaying in our activities. Next slide. We are quite well recognized in the European Union. We are the Center of Excellence in Food and Health, called the Senex Food. We are the partner of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, called EIT Food. This is a partnership of research institutions, universities, and businesses in Europe that are working together to develop innovations in the food system. We also have some history with previous framework programs, for example, the project Refresh, which was also a supporting action, just like IRACHER. And it was meant to bring us closer to the European research area. Okay. Some background for the IRACHER actually. So we are based in a city called Olsztyn. This is in the northeastern part of Europe. It's the capital of the region called Warmia and Mazury. And according to the European scoreboard, this region is considered a poor to modest innovator, and some actions are needed to boost the entrepreneurship and innovation in our area. In Olsztyn, we are operating in two divisions. Division of Food Research, which is located here. This is the name of the street. And in the Division of Reproductive Biology, which is away from our headquarters around 10 kilometers. So it's in a different part of the city. So we are physically dispersed. Our research infrastructure and our researchers are physically located in different parts of the town. Not to make things easier, we also have two medical departments in a city called Białystok, which is around 220 kilometers away from our headquarters. And this physical dispersion and lack of everyday contact between our researchers really impedes and makes it difficult for us to run interdisciplinary research that could combine all the three areas of our research. Next one. So having said that, we are now facing the biggest challenge in the history of our institute, which is building the new premises that would bring all of our researchers, all of our infrastructure in one place in Olsztyn. This is a massive history-changing investment that has been granted funding from the European Structural Investment Funds. This is an investment worth around 20 million euro. And on the left-hand side, you can see the visualization of our new premises. And this is our, the next picture is the picture of our neighbors, the Ocean Science and Technology Park. So it's a very good environment to grow. Taking into consideration this opportunity, never before in our history have we been more in need of the leadership and the guidance of this excellent researcher, but also a research manager who would help us capitalize on this, again, life-changing opportunity for our researchers. Next one. So having said that, ERA Chair project couldn't be more tailor made for us, because it gave us the possibility to attract high quality human resources who, under the leadership of ERA Chairholder, would help us create the Center of Excellence in nutrigenomics, so the area that we are already operating in. But the new experience, the research excellence of the ERA Chairholder would help us to move our research into a next level, so that we can become fully integrated with the European research area, and to appear for other partners, other research institutions in Europe as a trustworthy, strong partner that they want to involve in the consortia that are competing for this great Horizon and other European Union grants. This project is, of course, also a chance to make a revolution in the organizational culture of your institution. And for us, it was a chance to become an attractive workplace for talented mobile researchers who would come from abroad and work for our institution. Next one. So, having these aims at heart, in 2017, we submitted our first ERA Chair proposal. It was for 60 months and the budget of €2,500,000. Next click. And it was rejected. We got 10 out of 15 points. So we passed the threshold, but of course it wasn't enough to get the funding. Next one. So we didn't give up. Again, next year, we improved our proposal basing on the feedback from the reviewers, and we submitted another proposal, again, for 60 months and for €2,500,000. Okay, click. Again, it was rejected. We got 13.5 out of 15 points, so we really improved, but still it wasn't enough to get the funding. As you know, these calls are really competitive, and only the best of the best could get the grant. Next one. Again, we didn't give up. We wrote another proposal. We again improved it. This time the call was little changed, and it was possible to submit grants for 72 months. So this is what we did. The budget didn't change, so again it was slightly below €2,500,000. Okay. And as they say, 3 times is a charm, and for us, this was the case, because the third proposal was successful, and the European Commission accepted our proposal. And in the Polish history, it was the 7th ERA Chair holder grant. Okay. So this is the full title of our project. So it's welcoming ERA Chair to the Center of Excellence to optimize health and well-being. This is a print screen of our website. So we have already started our activities, but let me tell you more what we are planning to do. Okay. So our proposal has been structured around 6 work packages. Of course, the first one is the recruitment of ERA Chairholder and his team. For us, this is an expert in omics technologies. in life sciences. In short, this is the research area that investigates how our diets impact our genes expression, and how this affects our potential to develop diet-related diseases such as obesity and type 2 diabetes, for example. And this ERA chairholder and his or her team will be responsible for developing an interdisciplinary strategy for our institute that would both consolidate the ongoing research we are doing now, but adapt to these new practices that will help us make better use of the existing Euro-funded research facilities, including the new premises we will be building from the ESI funds. The third work package is all around making a revolution when it comes to the structural and organizational culture in our institution. So we are recruiting a grant specialist that will be supporting the researchers in submitting competitive European Union grants. We will develop a research management guidance, a special platform that will consolidate in one place all the resources and materials needed for our staff to prepare grants, manage grants, and report on grants. And here we also plan to give life to Rising Managers Academy. This is a project, internal project, where we would train the future research leaders in our institute. So people who are able to run excellent research, but also who would be good managers, capable of building teams and developing their careers on a European excellence level. Okay, next one. In our project, we have also put a great emphasis on the proficient execution of the European Charter and Code of Conduct for the recruitment of researchers. So for this aim, we have already recruited an HR business partner, and this person would be responsible for developing a human resources strategy for our researchers, where, for example, we will support the recruitment of talented mobile researchers who would have all the conditions needed for them to come to work to Olsztyn, to Poland, and to be able to develop their careers in the European Union standards of open, transparent, and merit-based recruitment procedures. Our goal is also to bring our science as public good, and this would be achieved through all the important measures that the European Union urges research institutions to put in place, so that we are able to deliver data that are trustworthy and reliable. And these little abbreviations here, like GLP, so good laboratory practices, research data management plans, these are all policies that are needed to be in place to make your data fair, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And this is a very important condition in ERA calls, at least when we were submitting the grant. The sixth work package is, of course, dissemination and communication, so sharing our research and scientific outputs with the region, with the country, and the national and international stakeholders. So we plan here, of course, to publish the data in open access, organize conferences, workshops for business, for governmental academies, and also, of course, with engaging with the consumers who would be end users of the impacts developed by the project. Okay. So where we are now after 1 year, so who is recruited and who is working? So this is the human resources business partner that is developing our human resources strategy to put in place conditions for the excellent researchers to want to come to work with us and feel that they are developing their careers at the right pace. We have this data steward, so the person who is responsible for all research data management plans. We have a grant specialist also already recruited, who is working on developing the grant applications, which in our case is one of the KPIs, one of the indicators that we have to meet in the project, as we promised that our success rate in European Union calls will rise, and we had to propose measures that will help us to achieve this. So this grant specialist would be responsible for that. And last but not least, we have selected the ERA chair holder. This person will start working from the beginning of March. This was a long process for us, because when we were submitting our application, it wasn't necessary to submit the actual candidacy of an ERA chair holder who would declare that he or she wants to work with us. What we had to do was to just indicate the scientific discipline this person will be excellent in, and just to add the job advertisement to prove that we are looking for the right person. So our first recruitment call gave us 9 applications from around the world. So we had all the recruitment stages there, but at the end of this process, even though we had the people, the main 3 top class people there and eager to work with us, we still felt that this is not the right match. And we decided to run the recruitment campaign again. And this is what we did. And it was more personalized. So we sent the recruitment, the job advertisements to around 500 specialists in the discipline in the whole world. And we received great feedback, lots of excellent applications, and the best of the best has been chosen from that. And we are really happy so far with the outcome of this second call. Okay. And this is actually it. So this is the overview of the project. So I'm open to all the questions you have for me. So I was involved in the development of all these proposals. So I know the pains and gains of this whole process, and I'm really looking forward to answering all your questions.
I have some questions. I see there are no questions posted yet, but first of all, you said that you have tried twice and you won the third time. Congratulations for not giving up. I have Kemal and Odysseus have listened to this part in some other event that I was mentioning there, cases where people were submitting a proposal. I was part of them, so it's not stories, it's something that I was part of it. They had in the beginning a good score, and the next time they submitted, they got a higher score and they got funded. This is a good case, it has a happy end. Or it was the opposite way, like having a consortium which got a decent score. So you got 10. I had this case where we got 10.5, and the next time we got a shamelessly low score. And I also had a recent case where we had a proposal that got 12, and the consortium felt like, no, we would not like to go submit again, because we are not committed, we don't have time, we don't have faith that we will win, even if we might get a higher score. So tell us, please, if you feel comfortable, what was the back of the book story there? So it may have been you, the motivator, the locomotive, and then sometimes you may need to change the team, because with the team that you got 10, if people don't share your vision and your faith, you may leave them out and go bring people who might be more committed to walk these new miles. Or can you give us some information about this? Or and I have other questions also, but about this case first.
Mm-hmm. Sure, of course, it's all relative. For us, it was really determination because we really believed in the project and we felt that, okay, with this feedback we have now from the reviewers, so the things that were marked as negatives, for example, that the negative side was, for example, that in the project it's not visible enough that we will be collaborating with the local stakeholders, the local universities, the local business. So for us, it was a thing that was easy to address in the next proposal. So, okay, so we will attach lists of interests from this organization, saying that they will be collaborating with us in this proposal. And that, for example, the trainings that we organize in the project or the conferences we organize in the project, they will be also addressed to local stakeholders. So it depends very much on the comments you receive and if you can work from them. Because if there are things like this, or the other one was that the communication plan was not extensive enough. So these were things that were really easy to correct. And so for us, it was obvious that, okay, so we will address these drawbacks, these shortcomings. And once we do that, we have our chances bigger because we really believed in the project. We really felt that we have all that is needed to succeed in this project. We had this big, massive investment from the European structural funds, which the work plan really emphasizes. We had all the resources that are needed, all the history that is there. So also that we have really good, excellent research potential. We are very strong as a research center, but we are in a region that really needs boosting in innovation because we don't have the resources. So we really need the leadership of the IRA shareholder. We really need this budget to grow from that. So, of course, this is also a personal matter if the people who are working on the project believe in that, or if they get easily discouraged or not. But in our case, one of the writers was the director of our institute, who is also the coordinator of this proposal. So you do not say no to your boss. This is one thing. But it was he was the engine that he was telling us, okay, let's improve that. These are minor shortcomings. Let's try again. I must admit that after the second round, when we got 13.5, so we were really hoping we'll get it this time. But again, no. But we felt that we are this close. That we still need to do address some of the feedbacks from the reviewers. These were really like tiny issues. And we, again, updated our proposal because we felt that, okay, this is a one step ahead of getting the budget.
I'm very touched also about the fact that it's obvious also from your presentation that you were committed. And on the other hand, if I would be asked to give advice to someone, I would think like you did. And I always do this, but sometimes I think that people who are cautious and reserved to commit, they may in any case lose something, but the safe side they prefer to stay with means that they will not have wasted resource, which means that just imagine now that in the third submission, due to some internal politics or due to any reasons there, you may have again failed. But the thing is that there were some times where it was not, many people think that in the past for European projects, the opportunities were more and there were lower hanging fruits. This is not the case. There are many opportunities now, but it's the system that has become so there are unimaginably many opportunities. There are calls that are having very low participation, and there are other calls which are populated with many submissions. So it's too much confusion there, and it's also a feeling there that people start also to work for a proposal very late, And this is also what I mentioned before, that if people attend the event today and see there, okay, is it worth to do it for 15th of March? No, if it is only for 15th of March, no, but I'm sure there that the legacy of a proposal that has been submitted and failed, there is a legacy, and it's only up to you to make good use of it. I don't see any other questions. Are there any other questions that we would like to ask? Also, not only the audience, but also the panelists to Ivona. Otherwise, we will go to our next panelist. And I have, yeah, please.
I want just to add on what you have just said. For us, of course, it wasn't like this that we started 6 months before or even 3 months before, because we were thinking, of course, brainstorming about this earlier, but the actual writing process and sitting down to writing, like, it wasn't like very, very long. But what gave us a lot was meetings with the national contact points, of course, participating in meetings like this, having some feedback from the ERA chair reviewers, who were also sharing their practices and telling us what should be done or what is appreciated and what is not, because there are also meetings where they share things like that. And of course, consulting the coordinators of existing proposals, sharing practices, doing consultations, because this is the real experience that is also very appreciated here, because sometimes little things matter in such competitive calls.
Yeah, and in many cases, it's one thing to have a good story. The other is how you will document it also in an exciting way, which are two different things. And this is also what you mentioned before about these. You need to build an ecosystem, your winning team to write a good proposal, and this may need some time in order to win the people. And also you may win them once, and then the next time they may have other commitments. So it's not an easy process. I think all people who are attending the event today, we all have experiences how difficult this is to keep the momentum and winning. So now I am going to introduce Dr. Gerhard Wingender. Gerhard, I have started announcing you before, but we had Professor Solaro taking your place, and you are going also to report to us about your experience, your own experiences. And for the audience, Dr. Gerhard Wingender is an accomplished immunologist with more than 20 years of experience in innate and adaptive immunity. He received his PhD from the University of Heidelberg in Germany before joining the laboratory of Dr. Mitchell Cronenberg as a postdoctoral fellow at the La Jolla Institute for Immunology in USA. Since 2015, Dr. Wingender is a research group leader at the Izmir Biomedicine and Genome Center in Turkey. And his current research interest is the role of innate-like T cells in the context of lung inflammations, cancer, and autoimmune diseases. Dr. Wingender's work resulted in 36 peer-reviewed publications in Journal of Experimental Medicine, Journal of Clinical Investigation, Gastroenterology, and has an H index of 18. And he is also the project coordinator for several national and international grants, including the ERA Chair Project Rare Boost at the Izmir Biomedicine and Genome Center. So, Gerhard, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks so much, Adamantios, for the introduction. Do I share my screen correctly and it moves on?
Yes, yes, yes.
Lovely. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. TÜBİTAK asked me to give my impression about the ERA chair, my experience with writing, and what we had done so far. So I'm the project coordinator of Rare Boost, which is the ERA chair of the Izmir Biomedicine and Genome Center, IBG, as you can see here in the picture. So I will not talk about how great IBG is, that's given. I will not talk about the project itself a lot. What I will focus on is what I think is a generic importance for the project coordinators here out there planning, and writing. In the end, the details of the project we wrote and this particular things about IBG are not relevant for your proposal. But before I start, I would like to have a short disclaimer. It's a European grant, so all the information is, of course, independent of the country. All the points I make have been done before, but just my personal highlights. And of course, it's only my experience, so everything I say you have to take with a grain of salt. And because in the end, that is what you care about, I will focus mainly on the writing part. So our project is a bit more than a year now running. Okay, and with that, I thought about trying to put what I felt I had to struggle with, or where I feel that if I talk about the ERA chair with colleagues, what they struggle with, what they don't get at first, where I have to explain what are the key messages I learned from this experience. And I will just go through them. If you have questions, please write them down. We can address them after the talk. Let's start with one which is most obvious and still gets a lot of confusion. All the widening grants, all the calls are not research grants. So, of course, you have to explain your research in great detail, what you want to do and how you do it. But in the end, the way I look at it, all the research you're explaining, the outline of your project is in a way just a kind of a nail where you put on the main important things. And the main goals, topics, aims of this project is capacity building. So what does it mean? It's not about doing research, but about becoming better at doing research. So you're trying to become better at all the things which are necessary to do research, at all the things needed to do funding and get funding, at collaboration, networking, social transferable skills, and of course, about communication and dissemination of research. And one thing which is often forgotten, it's also that you're trying not only to do that with the research people, but also with the administrative and technical personnel at the institute, because very often it is the administration which is holding us back. So in the end, the way I look at it, it is a kind of a learning experience from the European Commission that at the beginning of these widening calls, they gave money to the institutes and they used it to buy research consumables and fancy equipment. But at the end of the time of the project, they were not better as before. So I think they changed the idea to say, okay, rather than just giving them money to do what they want to do, let's help them to become better at what they're doing, with the idea that excellent people make excellent research. So the goal of the writing is to demonstrate that you are able to create an environment that supports that excellency. And that is, of course, supported by the RJ holder. But of course, that is just one piece of the puzzle. The second thing I would like to highlight is that you need to find a niche. What is a unique topic in which your institute, your department stands out, and that could not be done by any random institute anywhere in Europe? And I think I would like to highlight that with an example from our institute. So we applied 2017 to a teaming grant, which was unsuccessful. We got 11.5 out of 15, which is of course far away from the funding. And the topic we chose was precision medicine. And in hindsight, I believe the major issue was that this topic was too generic. Why IBG? Of course, it made sense. But why IBG instead of any other random institute somewhere in these widening countries? So 2019, we applied for the ERA chair call, this time with the topic rare diseases. And here, the relevance of IBG to pick that was obvious. First of all, if you look at the European research area, Turkey is the place with the highest frequency of rare diseases. IPG had a strong track record, national and international projects related to rare diseases. We had the network inside of Turkey on these topics. And we had the infrastructure, because many of these experiments require genomic approaches, in place. So here it's obvious that IPG stands out with the topic. So we are able to do that, and we are better positioned to do that than any other random institute somewhere in Europe. So find your niche for the research. So, and that was well perceived, that received 15 out of 15 points. One thing which I need to highlight is that the grant is actually not about the department and the institute. So not only is the grant not a research grant, it's not even about you. Because in the end, for the European Union, supporting you is just a mean to an end. As you recall, the program is spreading excellence and widening participation. That is measured not on an institute level, that is measured on a country level. So what the European Commission cares about is whether this program is allowing the country as a whole to improve its participation and its excellency. And in that regard, what you need to demonstrate is that your institute is able to serve like a lighthouse that is able to spread the excellence all over your country. If you convince them that you are awesome and you will have a great outcome, that is not enough. What they're looking for is the impact beyond your institution. That is why you need to have the network. That's why you need to have the interactions, the collaborators, the letters of support. That is how you address how you go to disseminate your excellency beyond your institution. How can you lift the boat for everyone in your country? Again, for the European Commission, giving you the funding is just a mean to an end. It's not about you. Even worse, I think that the project, and that is something a lot of people don't get yet, is actually not even a project, it's about a vision. You're not selling them a research project. You're not selling them an idea what you want to do. You're selling them a vision how you can achieve lifting the boat for everyone in your country. You need to demonstrate that having the error holder at your institution will be a game changer for the research and innovation beyond your institution for the whole country. How can you lift the boat for everyone? For that, you need a vision. And of course, that vision needs to be big. So you need to dream big and be very detailed and clear about your strategy. So what do I mean by that? So in the end, I think what you need to think about is that you have an aim which is just beyond the best case scenario. So think about it. If you do what you plan to do, and everything goes well, everything falls in place, everything you think they will help you, the people help you beyond what you expected. What is your best case scenario? And then just go a little bit further. That is what you should have as a vision. It should be big. Because in the end, you want to have ripples beyond your institution. You want to impact the whole country. So you need a best case scenario, which has a big vision. And because it has this big idea, of course, it doesn't happen in a few years. So the focus should go beyond the project period. That is the idea of sustainability. Of course, you have to outline what happens within these 6 years, with all the steps in between, how you have your strategy. But the vision, the part which you sell, that is beyond that. But that, of course, brings us to an obvious problem. If the reviewer looks at two proposals, let's say, and both of them propose that they would clone a unicorn, which of these two proposals are convincing? How does a reviewer distinguish a project that is just plain wishful thinking, and one that has a realistic best case scenario. And in the end, I think it's the same idea if you interview a candidate. How do you know that that person actually knows what he's talking about? You ask for details. How did you do that, right? And that is exactly what comes here too. The way the reviewer will judge whether you actually know what you're talking about is how detailed, how clear you are about your strategy. So we are here, we have this big vision. How do we get there? And what is said before, for these things, you need the SMART goals, you need the key performance indicators, you need clear and numerous, very specific examples how you do it. You need an extensive risk assessment, and you need numbers, a lot of numbers and details. These numbers and details all by themselves are in the end not relevant. What is relevant that you can persuade, that you put in so much detailed work that you know exactly what to do, how you do it, at what step. So these numbers are critical, not for the numbers themselves, but to give an overall impression. If you have a candidate and you ask him, how did you experiment? And he tells you, well, I just have solution A and solution B and I pour them together and that's it. The magic happens. That candidate is not convincing that he actually knows what he did. It's the same if you just say, okay, we clone a unicorn because, well, we cloned something before. That will not get you there. But if you give the reviewer a 50-page detailed protocol for every step how you clone your unicorn, every little step in this protocol is not essential. But the impact of having these steps conveys to the reviewer that, yes, that is a best case scenario and not wishful thinking. And one thing which I think is important to keep in mind, especially in a country like Turkey, you have to plan on an enormous workload. So coming again to my example, so on the teaming project, I worked 9 months half-time. And that was with team support. We met every week for one afternoon, and people worked on aspects beyond what I did as a project coordinator. And for the ERA chair, I worked 4.5 months full-time. And that is not the business full-time 9 to 5, that's academic full-time every waking hour. So do not believe that you can have a competitive proposal with a last-minute crunch effort. You will competing with projects that worked, as you see in the previous example, 3 years on this project. And last but not least, just one last thing I would like to add. Oh yeah, so how to do that? At the project coordinator, which you're supposed to be if you're looking into this info day, my recommendation would be to delegate as much as you can. For all the specific numbers, don't even try to find them yourself. Let people do it. All the information about the institute, let somebody do it. And get all the help you can get. TÜBİTAK is offering a great opportunity for writing support that you can get professional consultancy. I think that is awesome. And I personally believe that is one of the 2 reasons why our teaming project failed. So get all the help you can get people looking over it. Don't be shy to ask. And last but not least, in regard to the ERA chair hiring. So one thing we noticed is, and that is something the previous talk highlighted too, you cannot rely on the announcement of the position by itself. Of course, you have to widely announce it and you will get applications. But as the previous talk too, I feel that is not enough. You need to reach out to potential candidates. So what we did, our selected error shareholder, Dr. Ragusis, he was already part of our extended network. And we heavily and actively sent emails, contacts, letters to the whole network we had, telling them about the error chair project, about the details, trying to ask them, can you find somebody? Do you know somebody? Because we will only address with this announcement people which are looking for positions. Dr. Ragusis did not look, but he got interested and discussed with us, and based on that, he decided he would apply. And that is what the previous talk said too, that they actively went through the network. So as soon as you submit, work on your network, reach out to people, think about projects, get people involved, invite people, have discussions, have lectures, work in a network, because this network will help you to find a candidate. And with this, I think it will be closed, and I'm curious whether there are any questions.
Thank you, Gerhard. Thank you very much. And the funny thing is that many of the points that you mentioned, and many things also that Ivona and also Ihsan mentioned on the part that I asked him to provide some information in English, it's not, it's common sense. So you don't need an outstanding researcher like you are and an excellent scientist. But the thing is that sometimes what we miss is to apply good common sense in basic things. And the other thing there is that what I see is that people are in general very stressed. They are so much obsessed about succeeding, and they are so much afraid about failing, and they are blinded, and they don't see that whatever will happen, I need to do some good work. And success or failure will be the final result, but it's not that I will only do the work or the good work if I have a feeling that I will succeed. But I mentioned sometimes that Rowling didn't write the Harry Potter book because he had some fantasies that she would succeed and have it being a bestseller for many years in the film. She only felt the need to write the book. And then what happened was another story. But from your side, what practical advice could you give to people that face a deadline that is so close, like 15th of March? I think personally that one may achieve more in 15 days, not almost 1.5 months, if there is commitment and engagement. So it's not necessary that there is a no-go for people to start now the process. But what might be your advice in general?
If you start now for March deadline, pick the next year.
Yeah, but it's not
it's late. It's late.
Should be disappointed and give up at all because there is no information about the future calls. Okay.
There will be another call.
Daria, please.
Hi. First of all, I would like to thank Gerhard and Isabel for beautiful presentations. We were not the NCPs when you were applying, but now we are ERC NCPs and still are. So thank you very much. It was great to listen. The only difference that I would say, first of all, is that you have to find the error chair before you write the proposal. So that gives you, if you have someone in your mind, if you know that someone might come to the institution already, it is easier to write with the person that you're already applying, because now you can actually match the person with the institution much better. So you don't have to think as much as just thinking about an imaginary ERA chair holder. So this gives you a bit of a positive thing if you can find the ERA chair holder. I know this is not easy, but we also have a diaspora and also Turkish people that are outside that might just want to work 50%, for example, in the institutes in institutions in Turkey, which is also possible for US or New Zealand or anywhere else. So if you have someone that might be interested in your institution, maybe it might be easier to write. But in general, yes, it is. The deadline is quite close, but it's not. We can just try. We are here as NCPs that we will just do whatever you wish to do, and we will help you through the application if you are willing to do it, just for the applicants, just to give the changes from the one before, because as you have seen, finding an ERA chair holder, the ERA chair is not an easy task after you have the whole proposal, and then the project starts, and the first 6 months you have to find the ERA chair holder, which takes usually much more time than that. And now, if you have someone in mind, it is easier. In my opinion, might be easier to write because you know the person, you know what he or she can offer, and you know what you need. So it might be slightly easier. And we are here to help, just to talk to everybody else. Sorry for jumping in, but just wanted to say that these are different now. So sorry, if you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy.
Thank you, Daria. The issue there, sometimes you may find people who may be Turkish diaspora and might be committed, or people who might be, like the case of Gerhard, who might not be Turkish citizens, but may be committed. So commitment is a difficult thing. And the other thing is from the one side, and the other side is, in many cases, we all have experiences. You may have the best intentions, and then the place, the setting, the context, the culture of the place. And what I'm afraid I have seen myself is that it can be that you may end up in one faculty or in one department and everything may be excellent, and the next one, so the neighboring, may be horrible, which means that it's this matchmaking that it is also admitted in the presentation that was in the info day in July, I think, from the commission officer, who said that it's important, this matchmaking. So it's not only to have ideal candidate and an ideal setting, but also the matchmaking. Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions in general, or any other comments that the panelists would like to provide as remarks or as comments? Otherwise, we may be also earlier on ready and done. And I think that this was an exceptionally good event. I enjoyed it very much. I think that it will have, for me at least, a lasting positive impression for many reasons, but I think that we can see how to build also some continuity. So I suppose that the people who attended the event have a genuine interest in this call. So we could see there how we could help build some type of a community that we can provide more information, and also the attendees could come back to us. Kemal, is there something from your side, or we can consider the event as complete?
In fact, the Slido seems that we have no questions on Slido as well, Adamantios. I think we have done, and it was a very good event because of you, TÜBİTAK, and our invited speakers involvement. Thank you for everyone for their patience and being with us. I just sent the help desk page to the chat. and they can rewatch our event in any time, and they can reach out our presentations that you presented during the event. And we will send our evaluation form via SurveyMonkey. We would be glad if they can fill out the form as soon as possible, because it's very important for us. That's all from project team side. Thank you.
Okay, so then have a nice afternoon. Many thanks again, and please feel comfortable anytime to contact us over email or through the help desk. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Many thanks to all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.